Man, it is good to be back on Monday night once again, man. So, hey, welcome to the Undisputed GOAT podcast featuring the personification of greatness himself, my main man, Flash 22. And look, the gentleman of Georgia, the GOGs, the gentleman of Georgia, my Georgia homeboy, BRF, man. How y'all doing today, man? How's it going?
It's going good. It's starting to cool down here. We got a little bit of a cool week coming up here in Wisconsin after a bunch of 95 to 100-degree days. So extremely humid. So I'm excited to actually not sweat my balls off at work. So I'm A-okay with that.
BRF.
It ain't cooling down. It ain't cooling down here.
Hell no.
Shoot, boy. It ain't cooling. It ain't cooling down here. It's like it's tears of hell down here. We just passed the first one. Now we in the second one. It's like my God.
Yeah, that second wave, something serious, partner.
boy, about to look like a melted Hershey Kiss down here.
Oh,
I'm saying.
Thousand laughs.
I'm just saying. Like, boy, I'm telling you what, I look more. You don't look like the piece of candy that you get at the bottom that's melted down, and you got the little hell piece sticking out of the top. That's how it's gonna look the way it's going. That's how it's gonna look. I'm just saying.
You saved the balls for the end of the damn show. You didn't already start. Damn. Damn. So, look, let's get it started, man. Look, yesterday, Chris Paul announced that this coming season will be his last year, his very last year. Look, truly the end of an era, man. What are y'all thoughts about this, man? What are y'all thoughts about Chris Paul and his retirement?
I'll kick it off. You know what, man? I'll say this about Chris Paul. It kind of sucks that he still hasn't won a championship, because I mean, like his place in the Hall of Fame is pretty much solidified. I mean, he's definitely a top 10 point guard of all time. I mean, I would say he's in top 5 point guard all time conversations. I definitely think he's top 10 all time. I guess when you think about Chris Paul, what you get out of his legacy is just his ability to just never say die, never quit. Like willing his team to success, regardless of what state that your franchise is in. I mean, you look at what he did with the Hornets before he left. He was starting to make them relevant before he left. And then, like, you look at what he did with, look at what he did with the Clippers. Like, I feel like the Clippers were the most relevant they've ever been in the league. Really, outside of some years with Kawhi and Paul George, made them by far the most relevant they've ever been. With him and Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, just what they did with those teams in the late 2000s or whatnot, just always around. Like, and even with Oklahoma City, with that young roster they had, getting them to the playoffs. I mean, a lot of us still say to this day, Chris Paul plays Game 7 in that Western Conference Finals against Golden State, we might be having a different conversation. So I mean, just so many things that you can attribute to him. But just the consummate professional, and even last year with the San Antonio Spurs, like being able to put together the year that he was able to still have, even being 40, still going out there and being a mentor, but yet still being able to go out and be a relevant force with the San Antonio Spurs, even though they didn't make the playoffs. I mean, just, seeing him with the young guys, seeing him with the Stephon Cowsers of the world and the Devin Vassals of the world, just being able to mentor them and really show, really kind of take them under his wing and being able to kind of, kind of guide them. Because you knew he was probably a one and done in San Antonio, but at the very least, like guys like, and then being able to mentor Stephon Castle, and then when they acquired De'Aaron Fox at the deadline, having him there too, just like you can't really two guys like that, you can't ask for a better guy like a Chris Paul to really kind of draw from. Even with De'Aaron Fox being as good of a point guard as he's been in the league, there's always room for improvement. You can always get better, and having somebody like Chris Paul to draw from is only going to give you knowledge and only going to make you a better player in terms of just the little things, the little nuances, is being a point guard, just things you might not normally see or plays you might not normally be able to make. But a guy like Chris Paul can kind of show you, like, hey, showing them this angle, or the IQ is just, you can't help but to draw from someone with the IQ of a Chris Paul. Like I said, it's just a shame. It's a shame he was never able to get a championship, but just a guy that was just really good for a really long time, like best point guard. Definitely was the face of the point guard position for a while. Even playing at the same time as a Steph Curry, still one of the preeminent faces of the point guard position in his era. So shout out to him. Wish him nothing but the best. I know this is his last year he called it, but wish him nothing but the best. I saw some comments saying, "Oh man, you don't need to give every player a farewell tour." I'm sorry, Chris Paul is one of those players that deserves a farewell tour. He's one of the greatest point guards of all time. He deserves a bit of a farewell tour, particularly with the teams he played for. So because a lot of those teams wouldn't have been relevant without him. So I'm just saying.
I think when he goes back to like the Clippers or something like when he goes back to LA for that, then yes, I think he deserves that kind of farewell tour. But like that's
what I'm saying.
That's okay. But like if we're talking like a league wide all season long,
not one of those. Not one of those.
That's for like
that's for Braun. That's for Steph.
Yeah, that's for Jordan, Kareem, like that level of yes. I think his career is a really interesting one. Besides the fact of like not winning a ring and kind of coming up short, like a lot of the beginning and the middle of his career was kind of he got a lot of the same criticism that Shaq did, that he didn't take care of his body, he was off injured, he played himself into shape. Which was one of his kind of biggest criticisms. As much as he is definitely a top 10 point guard of all time, there is that we've kind of forgotten that first part of his career and those criticisms, which I think are valid. The odd thing is the later on in his career, the healthier he was. He also kind of had a reputation for kind of being a
malcontent.
Yeah. Which also kind of changed as he got older. His reputation changed. I think a lot of teams, I think it's actually a great thing that he developed into, and it kind of touches on what BRF was talking about when he transferred to a new team. He was an extension of the coaches on the court. And he gave a lot of young players that structure on the court. But I think as a career, I don't want to say it's I think, well, okay, I'm going to try and word this probably. I think there's some wasted potential in there because of how he was in his beginning of his career. Like, I think he could have been up there with, I know like we're going to segue into this. I think he's in the top 4 discussion.
He's in the conversation.
No, I'm saying if he takes care of himself early in his career, then he's in the top 4 discussion. I don't know if he's top 4 now.
So who's your top 4?
Well, you got Magic, Curry, Isaiah, Stockton. I don't think he's better than any of them. I don't even think I don't think he even cracks that. I don't even think it's an argument. Stockton's an all-time. Yeah. Oh no, dude. Everybody sleeps on Stockton. Stockton's an.
I'm not sleeping on Stockton, but I think there's a conversation to be had with him and Stockton.
It was literally Magic and Stockton up until like Curry. And that was the two best point guards of all time. Essentially, was Magic and Stockton. You could throw in Oscar there as well.
Nah, because I'm putting Isaiah over Stockton. I'm putting Isaiah over him. It's not that I'm sleeping on Stockton. I'm just
I
look. I'm
can
one of
live
those.
with Isaiah going over Stockton. I can live with that just because
Yeah.
of the rings, and he was literally the only actual bona fide star on that Pistons team. But I think those are the consensus three pre Curry and Paul, and Paul's nowhere. I don't think he's anywhere near Curry.
Oh God, no, he's not.
So, and I don't think he surpasses Isaiah. I don't think he surpasses Stockton, and I don't think he definitely doesn't surpass Magic.
You know what?
See,
Go ahead, champ. Piggyback on a lot of stuff. There's a lot of what ifs around his career, and it seems like the what ifs always started in controversy. Because when you really look at it, when he was on the rise in New Orleans with the Hornets, then Byron Scott, they decided to get rid of Byron Scott. Remember that? Am I right about that? They decided to get rid of Byron Scott. Then the trade happens. I'm like, okay, so Chris Paul is going to go into Los Angeles, with Kobe, coming fresh off of those back-to-back championships. Now we finna get a reload, and we're finna see about, getting a younger star in there in order to kind of phase Kobe out a little bit. Now there was a lot of concerns with those two because let's just be fair. Love Kobe to life, right hand. But when you think about that dynamic between them, I was always wondering how that was going to go because it's kind of hard to have two alphas in the same fucking building. That's just my feeling. It was just like, now granted, they played together on the U.S. Olympic team, but they were two very, very hard personalities in order to deal with. So that got nixed. Then he goes to the LA Clippers. They're on the road. They finally get Doc Rivers. They get a good coach. They fire Vinny Del Negro. Then the Donald Sterling situation happens. That throws the team into chaos. Then he goes to OKC. Everybody kind of knows they're not going anywhere fast before they can really ascend. Then he goes somewhere else. So it's always that what if because he was able to make these teams relevant and winners. Unfortunately, he wasn't around when they got the job done. It was and in the Clippers case, they sure as hell Donald Sterling and that whole controversy just threw that whole thing off because they had beaten Steph Curry at the beginning of it. And you kind of knew that once they came of age next year and Steve Kerr came, that it was over for them as far as the championship run. You kind of knew it was over. And a lot of controversy because, he really didn't like Austin Rivers. Rumors came out about that. It was a lot of controversy throughout his career that, to no fault of his own, he was a part of. And it kind of disrupted his ring potential. I would have loved to have seen what him and Kobe would have done together. I would have loved to have seen what would have happened if they would have kept Byron Scott. Because Byron Scott personally said Chris Paul was one of the easiest players to coach. I would have loved to have seen had the Donald Sterling situation not happened. I would have loved to have seen him stay on that OKC team and them ascend and them finally win a ring. So there's a lot of what if stories with Chris Paul. Like I said, to no fault of his own, he made every team relevant. But when it was his time, to be honest with you, when it was his time, it seems like something got in the way with that. Whether it be the front office, whether it be the Golden State Warriors, whether it be teams giving up on him too late or what have you. So that's just how I look at it. PSP think he's better than Stockton. CP3 has better handles. Stockton has a 3-point shooter plus. CP3 plays defense.
I think Stockton's defense is very underrated. I don't think he's a top tier defender at point guard at all, but I think it's extremely underrated. And Stockton was a far better passer than CP3. Yeah, Stockton's one of the best passers of all time. Like there's no debate on who's a better passer. Stockton is like in that Barkley Ewing territory of he just happened to play in the Jordan era.
To piggyback on that, let's go ahead and let's segue to the next segment of whether he's better than Isaiah. Or, to be honest with you, people always blame the Utah Jazz not winning a championship on Jordan. But I will tell you this. If you look at the West in the 90s, the West has always been stacked.
People sleep on the West in the 90s, but the West in the 90s they were ridiculous.
It was stronger. If you really want me to be honest, it was stronger than the East.
Oh yeah, easily.
There's a very good argument. Yes, that there was. Yes.
You had. Let's just go back to the 90s. You had. Here's who you had. You had Malone and Stockton. Then you had Shawn Kemp and Gary Payton, the original Lob City. You had Barkley, Dan Marley, and Calvin Johnson in Phoenix. And you really have to, and if you really want to talk about the Utah Jazz, you have to add Mark Eaton in that as well. Let's not sleep on Mark Eaton. Mark Eaton was a hell of a defensive center. Then you go a little bit further down. Then you had the Houston Rockets. You had the Houston Rockets with Kenny Smith, Akeem Olajuwon and company. Then you had the Portland Trail Blazers. Cliff Robinson, Kevin Duckworth, Rod Strickland, Terry Porter, and then Buck Williams. Then, even on the bottom half of the team, even with the Denver Nuggets, remember the Denver Nuggets upset the number one seeded Shawn Kemp and Gary Payton. Remember, Dikembe Mutombo and Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf.
Yep.
They upset them. And I know I'm missing at least one more team out west.
Probably San Antonio Spurs.
Yes, the Spurs. Yes, of course. The Spurs. Dennis Rodman and David Robinson. And so if you really want to make the argument, they were better out west. It's just that they was beat. The West in the 90s was kind of like the SEC before NIL. It's kind of like the SEC. They was big. The SEC and the West was just beating the hell out of each other. And by the time they got to Jordan, they were so beat the hell up. Now I just spent this entire playoff series facing each other's Hall of Fame caliber teams. Now I got to go face the big dog, the final boss.
I just want to point out the 1996 Western Conference All-Star. The starters were Jason Kidd, Drexler, Barkley, Kemp, and Olajuwon. And the bench was Sean Elliott, Karl Malone, Dikembe Mutombo, Gary Payton, Mitch Richmond, David Robinson, and John Stockton.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, yeah, let's not forget about Run TMC. Run TMC. They could score a hell of a lot of points. They could play. I think they averaged 100.
They couldn't play a lick of They couldn't play a lick of defense, but they'll run you out the building.
They'll run you out the building. They averaged 150 points a game.
So, now, mind you, I think this was at the time there was a rule. Was that Major League Baseball or NBA that had where you had to have somebody?
Major League Baseball was you had to have somebody from every team.
Yeah. Okay. I thought there was a weird rule in the NBA too in the 90s, but maybe I'm wrong.
No.
Nah.
And back then it was more so player and coaching voting too. That held a lot more rank than fan voting as well. So
yeah.
That held a lot more rank than fan voting. But you think about the 90s, you think about that. So yeah, let's not sleep on that. So it's easy to say, well, because of Jordan. Well, you had some dogs out west as well. They was just beating the hell out of each other. And then by the time you got to Jordan, now you got to face Jordan in a 6-game series. You know you're not going to win, so you got to rest it.
Well, but I do think in the Utah Jazz's case, though, I think you can put it on Jordan because the Utah Jazz was like, I feel like the Utah Jazz was Jordan's greatest competition in the finals, and they still couldn't take him to 7. So yeah. The West was stacked. Don't get me wrong, but I think that 97, those 97, 96, 97, 98 Utah Jazz teams were like The only reason they did not win the championship was because of Michael Jordan.
I also want to point out that prior to Tim Duncan, you essentially had the best power forward of all time in Karl Malone, that a lot of people said, and probably the second or third best point guard of all time on the same team. Like, Karl Malone is one of only two players that interrupted the Jordan MVP run. It was him and Barkley, and that's it. So, like, that's like how good Malone was. On top of that, like, I guess here's a better, like, where do you, like, I mentioned Jason Kidd. Where's Jason Kidd in this?
Woo! In terms of like,
I don't even think CP3 is better than Jason Kidd.
I don't know about that one. Yeah.
Defensively, I will say this. If you look at the defensive win share and defensively, Jason Kidd, he was right up there.
He's right up there.
He was better all around. I got to put Jason Kidd up there.
Yeah, like
I'm
still down the game. I didn't like the way he played. He played slower than Palm Water, but you know that's evident in the.
But I still look at both sides of the court, and I look at how good Chris Paul was offensively. Not just necessarily being a playmaker, but being able to create and get his own shot. It's the balance with Chris Paul for me. Still being able to average, still being able to hit like 21, 22 a game, and yet still being the floor general. That's what I look at with Chris Paul. It's the balance for me on both sides.
I'm looking up both of their kind of careers side by side right now, just to kind of give.
I think Jason Kidd is one of the most underrated point guards of all time, though. That's not taken away from him. I don't think he gets enough talking. I don't think he gets enough flowers.
No, he doesn't. That's why I brought him up. And that's why I think I'm trying to, when we bring up somebody that's going to go on a farewell tour or they're retiring, we tend to inflate how great they are at times. So I'm kind of trying to bring the conversation a little bit like, wait a minute, like,
yeah, don't forget about Gary Payton too. Gary Payton.
Yeah, I mean, we got Gary Payton in there too. I mean, like there, Jerry West.
Oh, bro, I don't think he's better than Jerry West.
So Steve Nash. Oscar.
I would take. Oh gosh. I would take, because I don't know, Chris Paul over Steve Nash. Would I think I would.
Kyrie?
Tim Hardaway.
Tim Hardaway?
I'm taking Chris Paul over Tim Hardaway.
Allen Iverson?
Allen Iverson's not a point guard to me, he's a shooting guard.
His true position was point guard, but he was a shooting point guard.
Bro. When we talk about greatest shooting guards of all time, I put Allen Iverson in that conversation. I do not put him in point guard talk.
I don't either, but I'm just kind of throwing it out there. Like I just, I get it, but
Allen Iverson's a 2. Take him out of the conversation. He's a 2. He's not a 1. He's a 2.
Okay, fair enough.
So, real quick, guys. Breaking news: Bonner is heading to Phoenix.
Ooh. I would have loved to have seen her go. I would have loved to have seen her go to Atlanta because I think honestly she would have been a better fit. But I think she could do some things in Phoenix. I think she would have been a better fit in Atlanta, though.
I think she would have been. But she's going back to the team that drafted her and the team that she won the championship. Not to mention, she'll be reunited with Alyssa Thomas. So Alyssa Thomas is on the court. That's the nasty work. So
I don't want her to go over there, and she needs to stay coming off the bench. She don't need to start. I think because she was doing her most damage being like a 6-man in Indiana. She needs to keep it that way.
Yeah. Plus, you're not going to start over Satu Sabali.
You're not starting over Satu Sabali anyway. So yeah, she's probably going. She's probably locked in as a 6-man. I think she can do some work at Phoenix. I just personally think she'd have been a better fit in Atlanta.
Yeah. Well, what do you think, Flash?
Sure.
But back to the lecture at hand. Does he deserve a farewell tour? Honestly, look, I'm biased. This is a biased take. I don't have too many biased takes. But me being a big guy, I love Chris Paul. Chris Paul was one of those guys who I can relate to. He wasn't the most bodied guy in the world. You know what I'm saying? You don't look at him and he doesn't look like a basketball player. Him and Kyle Larry, they don't look like basketball players. And it's just like, and he's kind of like real short to be a point guard. You know, he's kind of on the little bitty side.
What is it? 6'1"?
It's 6 feet at best.
6 feet. Yeah.
He was not a tall guy. So for you to get that much momentum and for you to be the cornerstone of the league, for you to be one of the faces of the league, and hey, part of the Banana Boat crew, with you talk about him, Dwayne Wade, Carmelo, then LeBron being part of that little crew who helped revolutionize, who helped anchor this generation. I think he deserves a farewell type of tour. I think fans loved him. I think that he's held in high regard. I mean, we didn't start talking about point guard until Chris Paul. Chris Paul talked about, when we talked about point guard, that meant Chris Paul. That's who we was talking about. I think he does deserve a farewell tour for everything that he did for the game. I mean, I think that they should give him a special shout out, a very, very special going away gift in Los Angeles, as far as the Clippers are concerned.
Oh, absolutely. He made that team. He made that franchise the most relevant they've ever been.
And not to mention, man, you got to think about this, all the bull job that he had to go through out there with the whole Viv Stiviano and Donald Sterling situation. Not to mention dealing with Doc Rivers and that whole debacle, him signing Austin Rivers to a multi-million-dollar contract, knowing he's not worth that. So when you put all of that into perspective, I think they should get them and Charlotte. I mean, them and Charlotte definitely give him a very, very special going away.
Yeah, I think those two cities absolutely or those two teams, franchises need to get, when he shows up, they should have a video montage and a Chris Paul night or whatever. I absolutely feel that way. I just don't know like a full-fledged farewell tour. No, I don't know. You got to be like in the GOAT conversation to have that kind of, or well, I don't think there's any, but we know what I'm saying. Like, you need to be like an all-time great. Like, you need to be Kareem, Magic, Bird, Jordan, Curry, LeBron, Kobe, Shaq. Like, you need to be on that like that level, and Chris Paul isn't on that level. Like, he's just not. I
agree. I think from this era, like our era, the only three that should even remotely be talked about to get a league-wide farewell tour are Bron, Steph, KD. That's it.
I don't even think KD.
And even now, KD is like, I don't know anymore. So probably just Bron and Steph.
I am all for LeBron and Steph getting like massive farewell tours league wide. I am okay with that. But KD, I've kind of faded on. I think if you would have asked me that 5 years ago, I'd have said yes. But now,
okay. So this era is coming to an end. We're realizing that this is really being close to this being the end of an era, almost end. Steph Curry's up there in age, Jimmy Butler, James Hardy's, LeBron, Draymond, all of those guys are up there. Will there be fan regret at the end due to this generation being one of the most criticized in NBA history? In other words, I'll say this. Following the Michael Jordan era, the next generation was criticized, but I really feel like that this generation here, starting with the LeBron era, when he first came to the league, it started a wave of criticism that I have never seen. Now, we can blame a lot of that on social media.
Yeah, absolutely.
because it was a new thing. Being on social media, giving hot takes is the new hot thing, and not necessarily sticking to the facts of sports. But when you really think about this generation, it is the most criticized generation in history. I think that outside of the 70s basketball, I think this is arguably the most criticized. And I'm going to be very, very honest. I think there will be fan regret, because I'm going to give you a hot take, in my humble opinion. I think these damn owners are getting out because there's not an undisputed face in the league. And when you don't have an undisputed face of the league is in trouble. If you really look at
you go ahead. I want to add to your point, but keep going, please.
When you look at the 60s, they had faces of the league. Wilt and Bill. God rest both their souls. You look at the 70s, they didn't really have a face. That's why they damn near went under. Let's just keep it real. They didn't have a face. Although Dr. J, he did everything that he could in order to carry the league, because nobody could talk to Kareem. But they didn't really have an undisputed face of the league. In the 80s, it was Magic, Bird, Jordan. Then we got to a point where Jordan was the undisputed face of the league. Then we got to the 2000s where Shaq, Kobe, Allen Iverson, Tim Duncan.
Well,
we got to the latter years. Is KD, Steph, LeBron. Now they don't have an undisputed face at this point, and now it's like the American basketball players are not what they were at one point, and now you're asking yourself, are you guys getting out of the basketball business for a reason? Because when you think about the Buss family getting out, when you think about Mark Cuban getting out, when you think about all of these owners that are getting out, I mean, abruptly, it's just like no questions asked. You have to ask yourself, are they looking at the future of the NBA and being like, this shit is not going to be profitable in a minute?
Well,
because we don't have a face.
What? Here's the thing, though. We saw this kind of happen right after Jordan kind of retired. There was a lull in the NBA because there was a lot before the Kobe, Shaq, AI early 2000s, kind of started to get steam. From like, I'd say the 98 to like 01, 02, there was a drop. I mean, there was a lot of criticism on the new generation. Whether right or wrong, however you want to view that era, that was, yeah, that era, the new generation was highly criticized. Again, whether you think it's right or wrong, I'm just saying there's a lull. There wasn't an established face of the league yet, and there weren't any. We didn't see the all-time greats yet. Like the only potential all-time great we really could possibly see at that time was Shaq, but even Shaq was getting criticism for not winning yet. So I think right now, when you look at the landscape of the NBA currently right now, is there anybody in the league besides KD, Steph, LeBron, like the era that's starting to kind of is starting to slowly they'll filter out and retire? Is there an all-time great in here?
Talking about playing now?
Yeah.
Nah, he ain't there yet.
Dude.
He had one of the greatest single seasons of all time, but he could suck the next year. Nah, we ain't there. We ain't there yet. The closest now, in terms of just overall sheer performance and accolades, are probably Giannis and Jokic.
Yes. But Jokic, the problem with Jokic, again, he just did an interview that I watched, and he's like, I just want to be forgotten when I'm retired. Like, I don't want people to remember me. So you can't, he's not the face of the league. He can't be. And Giannis could be, but he's got to win more. And right now,
that's crazy. That's crazy saying that too, because he has a ring. God, man, that's so crazy to say that because he's got a championship.
I know, and he's got a championship in one of the teams that's been. It's been like it had been 40 years or 50 years.
One of the cities that was like a championship ghost town before he brought him in.
I want to say that ring that Giannis got for the Bucks was just as meaningful as the one for Cleveland.
Yeah, even more.
I don't know about more, but it's up there.
They haven't won. They did. The thing is,
look at Cleveland. Cleveland hadn't won nothing in any sport since the 60s.
And that's why I say just on a purely NBA level.
On an NBA level, I could see it. Yeah. But I was about to say in terms of sheer cities, it's still not close. But NBA level, I could see it.
The only thing that I actually think where it matters more, in a sense, why on an NBA level, why Giannis's ring matters more than Milwaukee, is because how that team was built. LeBron's meddling GM stuff always kind of puts a slight stink on some of his stuff. Not a ton, just a slight. If like there's an argument on which ring mattered more to which city on just a pure NBA level, that's the argument that I would throw out where the Milwaukee one would mean more than Cleveland. Whether that's right or wrong, I'm just saying that's the argument that I would throw out.
But I look at the Cleveland one with Braun, and I'm like, who all do you really meddle with? Kevin Love? When you really look at it? If you want to say, Oh,
I guess now that was before that. No, they drafted him.
Because Kyrie was drafted, so he was already there. So he's already coming to his own. I guess the only one he really asked for in Cleveland is probably Kevin Love, and even still, that wasn't peak prime Minnesota Kevin Love either. He was still good, don't get me wrong, but that wasn't like,
well, I also
20 points, 20 rebounds a game capable Kevin Love.
No, but at the same time, I want to point out the fact that like he basically played the Chris Bosh role and took a step back. Kevin Love was still very capable of putting up 25.
Absolutely.
Like, but he was regulated to the corner three guy, just like Bosh was.
Yeah, and not to mention, you got to think about this. He also got Amon Shumpert, and let's not undersell how much J.R. Smith meant to that team. And
but I mean, they're decent starters, really good bench role guys. So I mean, it's like, they all right, they good,
Tristan Thompson paid, and anytime you can do that, that's a good thing. But the real reason why I put that one above it, because there's no Hall of Famers on that Milwaukee Bucks team.
Nope.
There's not one Hall of Famer.
That's a better argument.
There's no Hall of Famers. There's not one guy on there. They're very, very good, but there's not one guy in there that you looking at that team and saying, yeah. There's not one guy on there that you look and say, yeah, he's going to the Hall of Fame. Chris Middleton was good, not a Hall of Famer. Drew Holiday was good, not a Hall of Famer. Brook Lopez, good, not a Hall of Famer. So when you add that into the mix, and look, the Milwaukee Bucks had good teams, but they had them in spurts. They had a great team in the 70s with, Kareem. They was good, and they got to the pinnacle, ended up having to trade Kareem. It wasn't until they got to the 80s when they got Terry Cummings and Sidney Moncrief that they became relevant again. Because remember, before the Bad Boy Pistons, that was the Chicago Bulls' chief rivals, was the Milwaukee Bucks with Sidney Moncrief. Then they went for a long stretch, and then they got to Ray Allen and Vin Baker and the big dog Glenn Robinson. And, people had their questions about their Eastern Conference Finals or what have you. Then they fell off eventually. And then it was a long time before the Milwaukee Bucks had anything. They'll have it in spurts, but they never had anything for a good while. And then you finally got the Greek Freak, top 75 player. Didn't have another top 75 player. Had one of the best closeout games in history, over 55 points, Jordan-esque. Not a big market, very, very small market. Wasn't, if you really, really look at it. And the thing I love about Giannis, and this is no knock to nobody else, let me just be clear, because I always will defend player movement forever. He said himself I don't want these idiots on my team. I want to go out there and kick their ass. He said that. In the era of the super team, he said, I don't want anybody on my team. I want to go kick their ass.
I'm telling you right now, I don't think he goes anywhere. I think he's a Dirk. I don't think he leaves Milwaukee.
Hey, we got room for you in Los Angeles.
He go to Atlanta before Los Angeles, but that's a whole nother thing.
You know what I'm saying?
I got a turd in a fire bag for Los Angeles. That's what I got.
Yeah, he would go to Atlanta before Los Angeles. Atlanta got pieces. They could get him right now. I just don't think he's going anywhere either.
I don't think he wants to.
I really deep down don't think he does either.
I think he wants to win, but I honestly, like, everybody's like, oh, he's destroying his legacy. Blah blah blah.
No, he's not. No, he's not.
Like, everybody that I see on TikTok or on Instagram, like, to say something like, did Dirk destroy his legacy? Well, no. Well, then shut up.
Exactly.
Shut your mouth. Like, Giannis will go down as a top 5 power forward of all time.
If he's not already there.
If he's not already there. Like, I mean, you got Duncan Malone.
Duncan Malone. Well, I go Duncan. Okay, this is in order how I rank the power forwards. I might, you know what I'm saying? I might cause a little bit. I go Duncan. I go KG, then Dirk. And then I go Malone, and then I go Giannis.
I don't think that's that crazy.
Yeah, because people know, because this is funny, because like about a year or so ago, a while back, I was at a little family get together or whatnot, and there was this debate like, who would you take, KG or Dirk? And I always said KG, and I get it, Dirk's offensive game, you can't sleep on it. But for me, it was KG, the fact that he could damn near match the offensive output, and he's one of the greatest defenders of all time. So I mean,
early KG, like Minnesota KG offense.
Minnesota, oh my god! Even Boston KG that won Defensive Player of the Year.
He could if he wanted to. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm saying like Boston KG did win a Defensive Player of the Year. So I mean,
but Dirk's run, his 2011 run is like,
I think it's the greatest finals run ever.
It's the greatest finals run ever, and that's
I think it is. I think the more I look at it, and the more I compare different finals runs. Like you look at the 01 Lakers, you look at which Warriors team am I thinking about? The first KD championship. That 2011 Mavs team and the gauntlet they had to go through is just bro.
I literally damn near threw something at the TV because they came out there and they beat the fuck. And I hate to say that, but they came.
Oh, they tore your Lakers down, bro. They tore your Lakers down.
They beat our asses to death.
He could not miss.
Yeah,
he wasn't missing.
Him and Jet.
I don't even I don't think I remember, like, it was like he that run of his was like I'm trying to think of other runs, like that's like 2010 Aaron Rodgers run in Green Bay, that run in the playoffs.
I like that analogy in terms of just getting hot at the right time. I actually love that analogy.
Unstoppable. Like there's just nothing. Like every ball is perfect, every shot is perfect, there was just like it was on, like, to be in the zone for essentially a month and a half or 2 months. It is wild.
Yeah, there wasn't a scheme, like one of those runs where it's like there's not a defensive scheme he couldn't torch. There wasn't a play he wasn't executing to perfection. It was just like.
Even his
it was like clockwork. It was like clockwork watching him. It was like clockwork.
Yes, and when you think about the ramification for that Lakers team, that was the beginning of the end.
Mm-hmm.
Phil Jackson retired after that season. Andrew Bynum was gone soon after that. Paul Gasol was soon, and it was pretty much stripping that team down to the nuts and bolts of it. So that was the
I
beginning
just
of the
want to
end.
point out too, like real quickly, that I still think that is one of Mark Cuban's biggest mistakes, not running that team back one more time. Because
you know what? Yeah, he should have at least given them. He should have gave them the next season at least.
You give that team the next, because Dirk was still Dirk the next year, but he stripped that team down hard. And yeah, but that run, and that's why, like, you KG never went on a run like that. And so I look at that like, don't get me wrong, I love KG, but Dirk was, and everybody forgets, like, when they were winning 60+ games a year and getting when they were getting, ousted in the second round as the first seed, he was going buck nutty back then too. Like, they were just so criticized for getting knocked out in the second round.
Yeah, but we believe
5 games.
We believe Golden State.
We believe Warriors.
Yeah, so I just think, like, everybody forgets how. No, I shouldn't say everybody forgets, but people like that era Dirk too is nuts. So, but yes, back to the original point of. I wanted to make a point about the regret. So I've always looked at I look at like my early football experience with. So I grew up on like the 80s, not 80s, and the 80s Niners, the 80s Giants, the 80s Redskins. And then you transfer that into the 90s Cowboys and the early 90s Niners. And those are like, I hated the early 90s Cowboys. They ruined my like sports childhood multiple times. But I look back on that team with regret for not realizing how good that team was. I look back on regret on not appreciating the early 90s Buffalo Bills and how great those teams were, regardless if they lost 4 straight. To get to 4 straight in general is insane. So to see those, I think there's always regret generationally when you look back of everybody that hated a certain team or a certain player or a certain franchise or elite or whatever. I think there's always regret looking back on, man, I wish I would have appreciated that in the moment, because that was insane to see.
I think it's going to be a lot of fan regret, because, hey, like I said, I think this is one of the last few eras where you have the great star power. I think it's going to take a long time for the NBA to get back to the star power that they once had. And I'm going to just be real. And I hate to be the old head, and I don't want to be that guy. But the thing is, we're not growing with these players anymore.
No.
We don't grow with them. And we can't blame NIL or anything like that for it. There's a lot more AAU guys. We don't get to follow these guys in high school. We don't get to follow these guys in the McDonald's All-American game like we used to. We don't get to see their letters of intent. We don't get to see them, even if they're in the transfer portal, we don't get to go see them finally go somewhere and play for a world-renowned coach that, that's been around for years. We don't get to see, I'm just going to use this as an example. We don't get to see a Zion Williamson play for a Coach K anymore. We don't get to see, let's say, a Sean Kemp play for Jerry Tarkanian anymore. We don't get to see Isaiah Thomas play for Bobby Knight anymore. We don't get to see Michael Jordan play for a Roy Williams anymore, or a Dean Smith anymore. We don't get to see a Patrick Ewing grow into his own under the tutelage of a John Thompson. We don't get to grow with these players anymore, and we don't get to fall in love with them. The thing about it, one player that is forgotten in NC2A history is Kevin Ware. Remember Kevin Ware?
Yeah.
He broke his leg on the sideline. You kind of felt, when he hurt his leg on that sideline in the Final Four, you kind of felt like you broke your leg.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. So that happened. Yeah, but you see how you are right now. It kind of feels like you're just reliving it yourself all over again.
That Kevin Ware injury is one of the worst things I've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, even the whole bench turned around like, oh, it was just like it was crazy. But yeah, I think this generation, this next coming generation, you're not going to have the hardcore star power. You're not going to be able to. You're not going to have people running to the mall in order to get the jerseys. You know, running to if this guy's going to do a club appearance, you're not going to have the ladies and the young people going out there trying to get a glimpse of it. You know, it's always going to be that marriage between hip hop and basketball, but it's not going to be this crossover feel to it that it has always been.
And I'm gonna add something real quick. And I think you want to think another part that I think has to do as far as like why the star part isn't like what it is, and it's not the player's fault. It's the parity in the league. It's the parity in the league. Like even like when you look at that last era, I mean LeBron 4 championships, Steph 4 championships. Like the reason why they're recognizable is not just the fact that they were like they're arguably the greatest at their position to do it, if not the greatest ever to do it. They won multiple championships. Like there's a graphic that I saw like with David Stern and Adam Silver's like in one 30-year period, David Stern had what like 8 different champions, and already in 12 years, Adam Silver already had 9. Like I mean, it's the parity because there's not like I think what it is, we're still waiting on that one player to really like take over. Like I think SGA's got a shot with this Oklahoma City team, but I feel like for someone to really stand out, somebody's got to have like multiple on their fingers to really stand out. Because I think parity has a lot to do with it. Like Bron and Steph, they got 4 rings. They're always around the championship picture. So of course you're gonna get recognized like that because you're always winning and you're always getting to the finals. We haven't had a player like that yet in this era. So honestly, I think that's really what this era is waiting on. So I think somebody just really needs to like really kind of put that best foot forward and win more than one championship. All the big stars only have 1 championship.
That's fair.
Yep.
Yeah, and when you have a dynasty, that brings attention to the team as a multitude, and the team becomes recognizable. So that's another thing that happens as well. So I think that is good as well. Let's stay in basketball, but let's move towards the women's basketball. Let's move towards the W at this point. Now, the All-Star reserves came out yesterday. Well, yes, on this past. Hold on, let me get to it real quick. Sorry about this, guys. Apologize. The All-Star reserves.
No, take your time. It's okay.
The All-Star reserves came out just the other day. I know I got a screenshot of it because, of course, you know me. I made a video about it on TikTok. But the All-Star reserves came out yesterday, and it consists of Sonia Citron, Skylar Diggins, Ryan Howard, Kiki Ariafrin, Kelsey Mitchell, Kelsey Plum, Angel Reese, Alyssa Thomas, Kayla Thornton, Courtney Williams, Gabby Williams, and Jackie Young. What are your thoughts about that?
I agree with everything you said in that video. I don't have a single problem with that entire reserve pool. I honestly think they got them all right. Like straight up. I think they got every single one of them right. And that includes Sonia Citron and Kiki Ariafrin getting in. And includes both of them. Like they didn't get it wrong. Very rarely are we talking about all-star games and stuff like that. Because like look at the Major League Baseball All-Star game. We're talking about snubs right now with the Major League Baseball All-Star game. WNBA didn't get a single thing wrong. We're arguing about which reserves could take the place of who got picked to start. But I think they got the entire pool of all-stars correct. I don't like. I have no beef with it.
One thing that I do want to point out is the fact that I believe that Brittany Sykes should have got more votes. I believe that
You
Brittany
think she should have started?
I don't think she should have started, but she should have got more votes.
Yeah.
Because she wasn't even voted an All-Star. She's helping that that Washington Mystics teams come of age.
Right.
Definitely. And Breonna Jones. I think Breonna Jones should have got more votes.
Yeah.
But as far as everything else, the only problem that I had is them voting Paige Beckers as the fourth best guard in the league. That's the only problem. That's the problem I had. Just gonna be real. I like Paige, but no, not yet. You know. Now, one thing they did do, you saw who they voted number one.
Shit. Who did they vote number one? I can't remember.
Alicia Gray.
Alicia Gray. Yeah, Alicia Gray. Yeah.
Alicia Gray, MVP.
That's right. They did. It was Alicia Gray.
It was Alicia Gray. So yeah, that's one thing. But yeah, I have a problem with them voting her number 4. But it's like kind of putting the cart before the horse just a little bit.
Yeah, but I mean, are there like how many guards in the league right now are truly better than Paige? To be honest with you, though, how many? No, I'm talking about like how like you said like no, you saying you had a problem with her being voted 4th. Like, are there really that many guards in the league better than Paige already? Like right now, I don't think there is.
Courtney Williams is better than Paige.
That's 2.
Then
okay, you got Alicia Gray, you got Courtney. Okay, Alicia Gray, Courtney Williams, of course, Caitlin. Yeah, okay, I guess. Yeah, okay.
Kelsey Plum. Oh yeah, So,
yeah, Kelsey Plum, Kelsey Mitchell. Yeah. I say that's about. I think Paige is already a top 10 guard, but yeah, I think she's like in that 8, that 9, 10 range. So yeah, I can see it.
So, and I think that Caitlin, she got injury tax, so she got pretty much injury tax this year. But I mean, that's neither here nor there. But I think they got the All-Star voting pretty much right. Happy to see Angel in there again, which she's top in rebounds and tops in steals right about now.
Granted, I am so happy that she is starting to figure this out. I am so happy because it's like because now, okay, with Angel, it's one of those things that's like you have to see it on a game in, game out basis where she's getting better. The fluidity in the post, her playmaking ability, reading the floor, you just see it. And it's like it's her instincts are starting to really kick in. Bro, like I'm telling you, man, I think, let's see, she could, I mean, depending on where her stats end up this year, most improved player.
Yeah, most improved player. Like I said, I said this on PSP show. Unfortunately, you wasn't there. You're doing something right when Jason Whitlock give you credit.
Boy, facts. Exactly.
when Jason Whitlock gives you credit, and I don't mean to be here, especially when you're a black woman. Yeah. Jason Whitlock give you credit. You did something right. And look, her peers, she got the approval of her peers. You hear Cameron, a lot of the other young players talk about how much she's a master on the rebound.
Boy, you know you're doing something when that dead clock give you props.
Yeah, I would never like it, but yeah, that was that's one of the things that when Jason Whitlock is giving you a compliment, and I wouldn't go as far as he did. He put her like depending on if they're able to win MVP conversation, but I'm like no, most improved player. But I think she definitely has a shot to win most improved player, and she has a definite shot to be at least second team. Stretch it a little bit. If she keeps playing at this magnitude, she definitely has a chance to be second team All NBA. And if she does, that,
yes,
second team All NBA this year. If she does so much as second team this year, that shuts up every fucking body.
I think at least for this year, it shuts everybody up. At least for this year.
At least for this year, you got to shut up now. You can't say anything. That's it. Like I said,
man, because
had been a most improved player.
Because I don't know, man. I just still see like there's this one guy. I ain't gonna mention no names. He's like because now like now you're moving the goalpost to like, oh well, Angel Reese is not beating any good teams and da. I'm like, bro,
yes,
we know the Chicago Sky is not good. We know it'd be one thing if the Chicago Sky was a good team, not beating the teams that are better. They're not a good team. We know this. So at this point now,
Silence NBA. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. He tagged me every day. Shout to him, but
no, not him. It's not Silence NBA. It's another one. It's another one. I don't want to name him, but it's another one.
Okay.
I'll tell you who it is in the IG, and you look him up. I'll tell you who it is in the IG. But yeah, no, because he specifically was talking about, oh, well, she not beating any good teams. It's like the Chicago Sky aren't good. They're not good. At this point, I am worried about her developing into the player I feel like she can become. We know Chicago's not good. They did a horrible job building that. They did a horrible job building that team. We know they're not good. Now at this point, it's her developing, and then hopefully next year, the front office in Chicago develop a little bit of brain juice and build a team properly around her, which is people that can shoot. Get a point guard that can actually take the ball out her hands, and a bunch of people around her that can shoot the ball and play defense with her. That's what she needs.
We should have kept Kennedy Carter. They would have had to trade for Ariel Atkins. They could have had Sonya Citron.
Why? I'm still trying to figure why the heck they ain't playing Haley Van Lith.
I'm still trying to figure that out as well. But
that's like the closest thing I feel like you got on that team to what I just described that needs to be playing around Angel Reese, and she's not getting any minutes. Like, did she take somebody off in Chicago or something? I'm like, what going on? I saw this girl leave LSU, go to another squad, take them to what, Sweet 16, Elite 8 conversation. I'm like, what are we doing? Haley Van Lith is legit. Why ain't she playing?
Yeah, I don't get that either.
Yeah, I don't get that either. I don't think that damn coach know what the hell he's doing. I'm just gonna be real.
No, Haley Van Lith should have been starting from the jump. She should have been starting from the jump.
It should have been her and Ariel Atkins in the backcourt.
Facts, exactly. That backcourt should have been Haley Van Lith and Ariel Atkins from the jump. I don't know what they doing.
But I'm happy that she was able to make it. Another one that I'm very happy to make, man, I was talking about her last week, Alyssa Thomas, A-Train.
Mm.
I'm happy that A-Train made it, man. No, the reason I call her A-Train, you know why? Because she'll knock shit out you. Just me and really, she gonna set a hard screen for. Now Angel got her back.
Ain't Alyssa Thomas a rookie?
No, Alyssa Thomas, she's a veteran. She's a veteran.
Oh, she's vet. Okay, okay, but yeah, them the players you got to respect right there. Them the players you got to respect. The player that'll drop 25 on your head and will knock you out.
Yeah, she got grown woman. She got grown woman body with kid strength. So you know about that kid strength. So yeah.
Yeah.
Anything you want to add to this flash, man?
No, I'm good. No, you guys got that one.
We went over All-Star SNUBBS. I said Brittany Sykes. So I said Brittany Sykes.
Me personally, I don't think they got anything wrong. I don't think they got. Well, I guess. Brianna. I guess Brianna Jones, if you want to throw one in there, but that's probably the only one.
You don't think Derrick Hamby should have got in there?
Because I don't think she made it. So I guess Brianna Jones, if you want to put one out there, but that's really it.
All right, let's move it along. Who will win the All-Star MVP? Or who do you want to win?
Who will win it?
Yeah. Remember, Gubawale won last year.
I'm on the Nafisa Collier train. I want her to be wire the best player in the league this year. I'm all Nafisa Collier. Just like, cause like I've been on this bandwagon since day one. Because I said coming into the season, if Aja Wilson's the best player in the league, and Nafisa Collier's the second best player in the league, I want her to just go wire to wire with it. So if I'm rooting for anybody in particular to win the WNBA All-Star Game MVP, is Nafisa Collier.
Okay. Flashman. I think we lost Flash for a little bit. He'll be back with us. Technical difficulty. Hey, I want one person to win that MVP. One. I want Alicia Gray to win.
Yeah.
Gray,
okay.
Alicia Gray. I want Alicia Gray to win.
Of course. You know, we got a rep for the dream. We got a rep for the dream.
I hate to be a homer, but I want Alicia Gray to win.
No, look, bro. Hey, I got you on them. So hey, I'm just saying.
I want Alicia Gray to win that one. I think that would be big for her, big for the city of Atlanta. And look, don't be surprised. Look, don't be surprised. You know, there's 4 UConn players that made the All-Star game. The 4 UConn players.
Yeah.
Paige Beckers, Nafisa Collier.
Mm-hmm.
Then you had Breonna Stewart.
Breonna Stewart.
Yeah. And hold on, there was another one on there. No, all the 4. You had 4 UConn.
Let's see, Breonna Stewart, Paige Beckers, Nafisa Collier, and who's the other one?
Gabby Williams.
Gabby Williams.
So don't be surprised if it ends up being UConn versus the world. I would love to see that UConn versus the world. So yeah. But I think that, hey, another thing would be good if Angel wins that MVP for All-Star Weekend.
Oh boy, if she wins All-Star Game MVP, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
The damn world gonna set itself on fire.
Bro, like if she wins All-Star Game MVP, in what ways do you try to nitpick her at this point? Because the team ain't winning games. That's all you got at this point.
There's been a lot of situations where the team ain't necessarily been good, but guess what? You had grace on them because the team sucked. At the beginning of last year, everybody, until Kelsey Mitchell and Aaliyah Boston and everybody in company start rallying around Caitlin the way he was like people were saying, you know what, maybe Caitlin, I heard a guy say that, maybe, you know, Caitlin should ask for a damn trade because these cats was not doing it. And then there was talks about bringing Elizabeth Cambridge back on the team, you know, giving her those calls, giving her, because you know she with the bull stuff. She can be an enforcer. Remember, she started that whole, you know, that Aces team is not the Aces that we know and love without her. So yeah.
Right.
So, but yeah. I think it would be good. Moving on into the next segment, just a little bit before we hit that last one and go into that pigskin. Is it time for Asia Wilson to ask for a trade?
No. Don't. If I'm Aja Wilson, okay, y'all struggling right now. Don't ask out. No. Give that front office in Vegas a shot to kind of rebound and kind of, you know, redeem themselves a little bit. I'm not asking for a trade. If I'm her, I'm not.
Would you ask for Marina Mabry?
Bro, if you give Aja Wilson Marina Mabry, God help the league, bro. God help the league if you give her Marina Mabry.
But I want
God help the league. Yeah, God, if you put Marina Mabry with Aja Wilson, just God help the league, bro. God help the league. Like, my gosh. Whew. I'm if anything, I'm definitely getting. I'm asking them to bring a star with me, to bring a star there to compliment me. And if Marina Mabry's the best option, I'm gonna need y'all to get on that phone, see what y'all can do.
Yeah, but I don't think she's going nowhere fast in Connecticut at this point. So, Flash, you got anything to add to that?
No, she shouldn't ask for a trade. Sack up, get better. Wait for your team to get something better. You got to go through stuff sometimes. Let her. I'm getting tired of, like, as soon as there's a little bit of a bump in the road, all of a sudden it's like, blah, we got to get asked for a trade. Like, can we have a little bit of, like, you know, conflict, or, like, you know, like a little bit of resistance? Like, do we immediately have to always jump to, like, trade? Like, I always thought that some kind of, you know, test, or I'm lost in the word. I can't think of the word, but off the top of my head, I don't know why it's not coming to me right now. But, like, adversity is a good thing, you know. Like, it makes you better as a person. It makes you better as a player. Like, anytime there's some kind of issue, as Feathers is just dumping people out of rings right now. Feathers, sorry.
I'm sorry. Hey, I am sorry. One of the best character arcs we have seen since WrestleMania is Lyra Valkyria. I'm sorry. I
haven't watched, like, the last, like, 2-3 weeks of wrestling because I've just been so busy, and I need to catch up. This is the first night of wrestling I've actually turned on in, like, 3 weeks.
I'm serious. I seriously think, I don't think they'll do it yet. A Lyra Valkyria heel turn. Just watch out. Watch out. I'm not saying they're gonna. I don't think they should do it, but I'm just saying crazier things have happened.
I think she'll be better as a heel. I think she's got the build for it. She's getting more entertaining and better on the mic. Don't get me wrong, but I just, you know.
But yes, and I don't. I would say I would do it if the fans weren't, like, getting behind her. But the fans are getting behind her, so I wouldn't do it just yet.
It's slightly getting there. Yeah, it's starting to get there where their fans are starting to get behind her. It's been a slow.
All she got to do is keep having them banger matches, and she'll be all right.
Yeah,
keep getting red on the mic, keep having them banger matches, and she'll be straight.
Yeah, no, I agree.
All right, before we go into the NFL, got a question to ask y'all.
All right.
Who are the top 5 face cards in the WNBA?
All time or right now?
Right now. Well, you could do all time or right now.
No, honestly, we could. My all time might shock you, but I'll do a top 5 now. This is no particular order. Sophie Cunningham is definitely up there.
The fact that she can give a Muay Thai knee to somebody is like, that makes her even hotter.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah. So Sophie Cunningham's up there.
I love you,
I would go Sophie Cunningham. I would go Dejanay Carrington. I would go Rakia Jackson. I would go Nafisa Collier, and I would go. You know what? Even though she's 35, she still look good. That Skylar Diggins face card never declines.
No, indeed not.
She's 35, but that's one of the face cards that's never going to decline. So I would go Sophie Cunningham, Dejanay Carrington, Rakia Jackson, Nafisa Collier, and Skylar Diggins. That would be my top 5 now. And I know there's probably some I ain't named, but that would be my, like, top 5, like, right now. Now my top 5 all time. Okay. Candace Parker.
Yes.
Okay, I gotta put Skylar Diggins in it because she's a vet. So Skylar Diggins is in there. Let me think. I have respect for the women that, like, are really, really pretty but could win a league MVP. So I'm gonna give an honorable mention to one Elena Delle Donne. She was pretty and could ball. So definitely shout out to Elena Delle Donne. Honestly though, who else? Gosh. Honestly, a lot of the face cards now is like, it's just crazy because, like I said, you got Dejanay, you got Rakia, Cameron Brink. I didn't even say Cameron Brink. Like,
You stole mine.
gosh, yeah. I'm gonna just stick with the top 5 now because all time is hard. All time is hard.
I think Sophie right now is everybody's favorite. Like her ascension in the last month after basically being the fact that she's, again, she's a black belt. Played, but by the way, played high school football on top of it. And is just a smoke show. She just is. And I'm sorry, but any woman that can give a Muay Thai knee and a legit Muay Thai knee to somebody
and look like that.
Watching her put I forgot the girl's name that she put, like, just grabbed her head and it would have been an easy Muay Thai. It'd have been
JC Shelton.
And she's just like, do something. Just do it. Just please do it. And just so Haley Van Lith is up there. Nika Mule for the Seattle Storm. She's up there too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I forget. Yeah.
Now there's one that's probably the prettiest, but she's a free agent now, and she was drafted last year by, I think, Chicago. But her name's Kaisir Gonder something.
Oh, Kaisiri. Oh my God.
That woman's beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, that woman's insanely beautiful. Like, that's a good look.
Yeah,
that's like Halle Berry. What?
The young lady that Jalen Brown was with.
Yeah, that she's like Halle Berry level good looking. Like, she's really, really pretty. And then there's a girl that plays for the Minnesota Lynx. She's got a weird Dorka Jua something. I don't know. She plays for Seattle, or I'm sorry, the Minnesota Lynx.
I know who you're talking about too. I just can't say her name either.
I can't say a name, but I think I do. I think I do too.
Yeah.
Wait, are you? Is it because you can't say her name because you might be it's offensive, kind of?
No, I just don't.
Oh, okay.
No,
you pronounce her last name like Juaz or something like that. It's a real funky name, like her whole name. No, I'm not joking. I looked up some of these girls' names before, so I didn't come out. So it's not like a complete butthole coming on here and be like, yeah, Dorka Zua, and then like completely botching their name.
Man.
But she's kind of like,
but for real though, man, when you're talking. I'm just saying, like, but not for real though. But like, when you're talking face cards in the WNBA, it's like so hard because their names we didn't even mention. We didn't even mention Satu Sabali. We didn't even mention. There's so many. We didn't Lexi Hole. Didn't even mention Lexi Hole. Just. There's two. You didn't even mention Kelsey Plum. Like, bro, there's too many, bro. There's too many.
I think Sophie's everybody's everybody's favorite right now. I think that's easy.
Ray Burrell from the Los Angeles Sparks.
Ray Burrell. Oh yeah, Ray Burrell. Yes, she's another one. She's another one. He's another one.
Yes, the other one that played for the Phoenix Mercury, the one that's 6'6", Kalani Brown.
Oh
yes,
yeah. That's a top. But that's a.
Oh, wait a minute. The crazy thing about Satu Sabali, she has a twin that plays for the Liberty. Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah, they're twin. But yeah.
Oh my Lord.
Kalani Brown from that's a tall glass of chocolate milk right there, boy. That's lovely. That is lovely. Satu Sabali.
Yes, I mentioned her. My goodness gracious. She got a twin. That's like, bro.
No, she young, but I gotta put Angel in there.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you have to put Angel in there. People talk about her. People talk about her out of hate. Y'all ain't about to sit here and look me in the face and say that woman didn't offer to go out on a date with you. You wouldn't take it. I mean, come on, man, y'all. Let's be real.
On that list, Cameron Brink, man. I know I love to stay in the chocolate factory, but I'll venture out into the woods for that one. I'll venture out into the woods. I'm being real.
I am a foot.
Yeah, I've been trying. I've been trying to woods, you know. But I try to stay. I try to be Charlie, but I've been out the woods for that because man,
I have a mixed daughter, so my view is already compromised.
I love staying in the chocolate factory, but I will venture out the woods for Cameron.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, look. Hey, man, look. The GOAT of face cards got to be Candace Parker.
Yeah.
Got to be Candace Parker because that is.
I have to sign off with you on that one. Yeah.
Yeah, the GOAT face card got to be Candace Parker, man. But top 5 right about now, I'm gonna go different, man. I'm gonna say Bray Burrell, Angel, then I'm gonna go Satu Sabali. I'm gonna venture out of the chocolate factory a little bit, Cameron Brink, and then Kalani Brown. And let me see, I got one more. Let me see. Let me use this card very, very. Rakia Jackson. Rakia Jackson, man. That's a face card with unlimited credit right there, man. That face card got unlimited credit. So man, that's what man. I'm glad I had this. This is a good one. Let's move on into the football. Man. As y'all saw yesterday on TikTok, man, I made a video yesterday talking about Cam Newton versus Jalen Hurts, who was better. The person who I took the tweet from, he said Cam Newton is better than Jalen Hurts. Shouldn't even be a controversial take. What do y'all think about
that? I think
there can be two truths at the same time.
Yes, that's what I was getting ready to say. I want to hear you, Flash. Go for it.
I think Cam is overrated for not winning a ring and doing everything by himself. And I think Jalen Hurts is underrated because he has a stacked team and he's won rings. If you know what I'm saying. I think Cam gets too much credit. And everybody's saying he did it by himself and alone. Versus I think he's overrated in that aspect. While I think Jalen Hurts is kind of the opposite, where I think he's underrated because his teams have been stacked. So if you're going to ask me who's better, I think peak-wise, I think Jalen Hurts is a better passer. So I'm going to say Jalen Hurts at peak. I know Cam's an MVP guy, but I think Jalen Hurts is a lot smarter player than Cam Newton and plays a more well-rounded game and plays within himself. And I don't think that's a bad thing.
I think we didn't see enough of Cam before he hurt his shoulder. I think it was 2018 when he hurt his shoulder. That last year with the Panthers, where he was still kind of like approaching that prime Cam kind of status.
Yeah.
Before he hurt that shoulder, he was like 64, 65% completion percentage. Like he was torching people, and people was like, "Oh, well, he had Chris McCaffrey. He had Chris McCaffrey. He's throwing out the backfield." Nah, try me. If you go back and watch that season before he hurt his shoulder, some of them throws he was making to them wide receivers that year.
He could.
Cam was on one that year before he hurt his shoulder.
I'm not saying that Cam was a bad passer. I'm just saying I think Jalen Hurts is a more consistent one.
Because we've seen a longer sample size of Jalen Hurts be a better passer.
Yeah.
We didn't get enough of it. We didn't get enough of it for a lengthy period of time out of Cam like we've been able to with Jalen Hurts. So I agree with you. Jalen Hurts is definitely a better passer than Cam. My only thing, I kind of don't agree with the overrated part as far as him carrying that team, because you got to look at what he had on that offense. I mean, between him, it was basically him and that ridiculous defense that they had that took them all the way to the Super Bowl. Ted Ginn Jr. is not a bad receiver. He's not a number one.
Hell no.
Greg Olsen was basically their numero uno at the tight end position. Like he's the only true guy they had that you recognize and be like, oh, like I trust him. Like if the game on the line, I trust making the throw to him and he can get it. You know, he can get a first down with the game on the line. He can get a touchdown with the game on the line. And I mean, and then of course, and then like the running game, like that's basically all predicated off of Cam. You know, they had good running backs, but we know that running game was predicated off of Cam.
Yeah, they had.
So I don't think. Yeah, I'm saying they had Jonathan Stewart. Like I said, Jonathan Stewart was a good back. He's a good. I mean, he was a real at his peak. Jonathan Stewart was really good. I'm not saying he wasn't, but I mean, come on, let's keep it above.
I think
Jonathan Stewart was really good. And he was good. But I mean, we also got to look at Jonathan Stewart was, you know, he did have a prime D'Angelo Williams with him at his side at his peak too. And then of course the way Ron Rivera was running that offense through Cam and whatnot. So I mean, he was good, but I mean, there were other factors that contributed to the success of the running game. So, but I guess the question you would have to ask is, could you put them in other systems and succeed, and could they succeed? Which is why I kind of lean Jalen. Because he's got enough of a sample size as a true passing quarterback to where he could thrive in other styles of offenses. Like, I mean, you have to kind of mold it a little bit with his ability to run and whatnot. But Jalen Hurts' his mental and his ability to read defenses and be able to pass and all that stuff and do everything. I think I would probably go Jalen slightly ahead of Cam. I don't think it's a big gap. But I would go Jalen kind of a little slightly. I don't think it's a big gap.
I don't think it's a really big gap either. Like, I'm not going to hate on somebody that's going to say Cam's better. Like, I don't think it's, I think it's very slight, yeah. Whichever one you go with.
Yeah, you're in good hands with whoever quarterback you pick. You're in good hands with that offense.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I don't think there's any. I never. So I'm a little bit of a. I never liked the way Cam played. It's just not my style that I enjoy. For some odd reason, I just didn't enjoy what. I mean, I don't know. There was just something about watching him play I didn't enjoy. So I try to take that bias out of it when I critique him. It's just, he reminded me of he, in a lot of ways, as a passer, he was Donovan McNabb. Donovan McNabb was either like on fire as a passer, or really off. And he was just so inconsistent either way. And I think that was one of the things that I just always would, it's just like, man, if you could just find that, like, if you could just be consistent. When it came to his, I mean, because he would go from 52% completion percentage up to like 67, up to 50, down to 59, down to 58, up to 61. And it just, you know, I mean, maybe it is because he never had, I mean, he had what, Steve Smith for a while, right?
He had Steve Smith at the beginning of his career.
Yeah. And then Steve Smith moved down to Baltimore. Which I still never understood that move by Carolina. Like, that made absolutely no sense to me whatsoever.
I think I don't think you'll ever understand that move if you like watch football. You're like, okay, you're getting rid of Steve Smith. You're taking Steve Smith from here because what now? Okay, if you say so.
It never made any sense to me whatsoever on that. I mean, he left there in
after making the playoffs. They won 12
Yeah.
and 14.
Yeah, I never understood that at all.
Was that in 2012? They did that?
No, he left. He was released by the Panthers in 2014.
2014.
Oh yeah, that was the year after Colin Kaepernick beat the shit out of the entire NFC South on the way to the Super Bowl. I remember that year.
Tell me about it, Navarro Bowman. Oy vey.
I mean, that was towards the end of his career. Don't get me wrong. I mean, he was already in the league for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. He was in the league for 13 years already. So maybe I'm being a little too disingenuous with that, but yeah, okay. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe letting him go was I thought he was a lot younger than that. Because I remember him he had a really good season in Baltimore that year in 2014, like his first year in Baltimore. Like he was great. They just happened to run into Tom Brady and the New England Patriots that year. So, so yeah, I don't know. I think it's real close. It's hard because I think Jalen Hurts is going to go. He's going to be that quarterback that's going to win. But I think he's always going to have that. Well, yeah, but his teams were always stacked.
Troy Aikman.
Yeah, I think that's a great comparison. I think Troy Aikman is vastly underrated as an all-time QB, just because of that Dallas offensive line and defense and running game. I really do. I mean, and I'm a Cowboy hater. I hate the Cowboys, and I hate that early 90s. But Aikman's gets a lot. Again, I think Cam gets too much credit, but then I think there are guys that get not enough credit. And I think both of those, like Aikman and Hurts, don't get enough credit. Now, I'm not saying they're all-time greats, or I don't think they're not in the top 10. I don't think either of them are in the top 10. But I think there's a little bit too much on that. Not a lot, but just dial it back just a little bit, everybody. That's what I kind of think.
The thing is, that 2015 team is very, very underrated. If you really want me to be honest with you, it's very, very underrated because you had another Hall of Famer on the other side. Number one, Luke Kuechly. Had he not had the concussions and the injuries, he'd have played for 20 damn years.
He'd have gone down as an all-time middle linebacker.
And if you really, really want me to be honest with you, in the 2010s, it was him, Patrick Willis, Ray Lewis.
Yep.
That was it. When you talk about linebackers. And when you talk about that team, it had 9 All-Pros. It had 9. You had Luke Kuechly, you had Josh, you had 8 All-Pros. You had Cam himself, Mike Tolbert, Ryan Khalil, who was a 5-time Pro Bowler, 3-time All-Pro at center, one of the all-time great centers. You had Thomas Davis. You know Thomas Davis better than anybody, BRF, from Georgia. Then you had Luke Kuechly, Greg Olsen. Then you had Quan Short, who was a hell of a defensive tackle, 2-time All-Pro. Then when you go to Pro Bowlers, they had 10. Then they had a hell of a guard. If you really look at it, their whole right side of the offensive line was just that damn good. That offensive line was very, very good for the Carolina Panthers. So, and Josh Norman for that 1 year, he got the job done. After that year, it was pretty much over. It was the beginning of the end for him. But the thing is, here's what I'll say about Jalen Hurts. There's been plenty of quarterbacks throughout history who have had stacked teams. Guess what? They didn't win with them. There's quarterbacks who have, and this is no knock on Lamar, this is no knock on Joe Burrow, this is no knock on. There have been plenty of teams that have had offensive onslaughts. They didn't get the job done. So when you look at this era, right now, it's Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts. They're winning. Everybody else might have all the accolades, all the Pro Bowls, all the All-Pros, all the MVPs, all the awards. When you look at Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes, they're essentially the Steve Young and Troy Aikman of this generation. That's what they are, essentially. So when you think about that, people like to say, well, he's on a stacked team. Peyton Manning had a stacked team for years. For years. Think about it. I've said this before. Tom Brady didn't really get a stacked team as far as offensive onslaught until after 2004. The funniest thing about that is on the offensive side of the ball, he had his first all-time great on the offensive side of the ball in 2004 when he got Corey Dillon. That was his first all-time great guy.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, outside, we're not casuals. We're sports savants. We're sports savants. There's a difference. There's a difference between savants and casuals. But if you was to ask the casual fan, who's David Patton, they probably couldn't tell you who that is. If you ask the average fan who Anthony Givens was, they probably couldn't tell you who it is. If you asked them who Deion Branch was, they probably couldn't tell you who it is. If you asked them who Troy Brown was, they probably couldn't tell you who he is. If you asked them who Antoine Smith is, probably couldn't tell you who it is. Jabbar Gaffney, couldn't tell you who it is. Even Kevin Falk, for as versatile as he was, you was to ask the casual fan about those 7 guys that Brady had at the beginning of his career, they couldn't tell you who he was, who they were.
David Patton, Troy Brown,
Gibbons, they could. Jabbar Gaffney.
Huh.
That was the funniest thing about it.
I just want to go look back at that 01 Patriots team that he made that last drive on and the people that caught balls on that drive. And just that, I mean, it's kind of crazy.
No, the thing was, I remember they had a commercial where, you know, John Madden, you might remember it, Flash, where Brady was promoting Sirius satellite radio. And John Madden say he had a radio right next to it back when radios were cool, I would say. And he said, looks like you got a new receiver. He said, yeah, got to have it for Sirius satellite radio. And then John Madden said, He said, so in other news, Tom Brady has a new favorite receiver. And they had David Gibbons, David Patton, and Troy Brown lined up in the locker room. And they were looking at the TV of what John Madden was saying. He said, I thought I was his favorite receiver. And everybody looked at each other like, what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, I remember that commercial.
Yeah.
Dude, I'll put it this way. Like, the main tight end on that team was Jermaine Wiggins.
Shout out to Jordan.
Yeah, like I said, go back and watch that last drive on people that caught, like, you know.
You couldn't really name them.
No.
It wasn't until, and the thing is, if it wasn't for social media, you probably couldn't tell me who these newer guys were outside of Gronk. Outside of Gronk, if it wasn't for social media, people could not tell me who the hell, what's the guy's name? Not Wes Welker, but the guy who replaced it.
Julian Edelman.
Yeah, Jules. If it wasn't for social media, people couldn't tell you who that was. He never even made a damn Pro Bowl. Never made a Pro Bowl. Never made an All-Pro.
Oh, he's never an All-Pro. I know that.
Yeah, he never.
Shoot, that man was never in top 10 wide receiver in the league conversation. But when you get to the playoffs,
yeah. And then you had what's the guy?
Yeah, he never made a Pro Bowl.
No, he
Nope.
I told you, he never made a Pro Bowl.
I thought he at least snuck in one there.
No,
He never
made
did.
a Pro Bowl.
He
Yeah,
never did.
Because there was a season or two. He caught over 100 balls.
Yeah. He replaced Wes Walker.
I know he did. I know he did.
Yeah, so yeah, that's your team. So yeah, you know better than anybody.
Oh, he never made a Pro Bowl. I thought he snuck in at least one.
Yeah, I was shocked when I first discovered it too. Like, how the hell he never made a Pro Bowl? But
no, he's got a Super Bowl MVP, but not a Pro Bowl.
Not a Pro Bowl. Ain't that some shit? But yeah, then what's the other guy's name? Amendola.
Yeah, Danny Amendola.
Yeah, he never made a Pro Bowl.
No, he was always injured. Like when he was with the Rams, like the biggest knock on Danny Amendola, like everybody thought Danny Amendola was going to be like a top wide receiver. He could never stay healthy.
Yeah.
But you look at that 2014 Patriots team, you had Danny Amendola, Julian Edelman, and Gronk, but the other wide receiver that they signed off of Carolina.
Shoot.
I can't think of the guy's name all of a sudden.
But if it wasn't for social media, outside of Gronk, you wouldn't know who these guys were. Outside of that 07 to like I think 2010 stretch, when you had world-renowned Randy Moss, Dante Stallworth,
Brandon LaFell. Sorry.
Yeah. And then they remember they had that guy that they had that running back that they had stole from the New York Jets.
Oh, little Danny Woodhead.
Yeah. Remember
that was one of my favorite players ever. Little Danny Woodhead.
I remember the players used to make fun of him because he played running back, you know, and we know why. We won't get into it. But they used to say if he was 1930, he'd be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Remember they used to tell him that he was 1930.
Not just him, but oh God, my Patriot brain is not. There was a dude that played right around the time of Danny Woodhead, and he was he was like 3 yards in a cloud of dust, but he was but
they said it was 1930 because he was famous.
He was called the law firm.
Yeah.
Something Ellis. Hold on. That's gonna drive me nuts.
Well, so just make sure we remind Joe Theismann is Danny Woodhead. Somebody got to remind Joe Theismann. That's how you say his name.
Ben Jarvis Green Ellis.
Oh, yeah, they used to make fun of him.
That was the Patriots starting running back. His nickname was the law firm, and I think he's like he averaged over 4 yards a carry twice in his career, but everything else was like 3.7.
Yeah, he lost in a cloud of dust.
Yeah, that's all he was.
But yeah, when you think about stacked teams, I mean, you think about the guys who had stacked teams. Remember, Steve Young had a hell of a stacked team. You remember Troy Aikman had a stacked team. Terry Bradshaw. Brett Favre had a stacked team when it came to the Super Bowl. He had a stacked team when he went back-to-back in the Super Bowl. Bro, that team was so stacked. Andre Rison was his third receiver.
Had Desmond Howard. Desmond Howard returning kid.
Yeah, but the only reason Andre Rison was brought in that season was because Robert Brooks tore his ACL.
Exactly.
True.
That's what I'm saying.
But I mean, it was. But like by the time they got to Andre Rison was their number one wide receiver at that point. Like it was Andre Rison and.
Had it was Robert Brooks, Antonio Freeman, and then Andre Rison. Antonio Freeman very
Brooks wasn't, but Brooks didn't play until the next year because he tore his ACL like in the opener against I think the Niners or like one of the first games of the year he tore his ACL.
Damn.
Oh no, it was week 7. He tore his ACL against San Francisco in week 7, and then
all teams you tear your ACL against a chief rival.
Yeah.
Of all teams.
Yeah.
But back to the lecture at hand. I don't think we should hold it against quarterbacks because they are. Everybody's not a Tom Brady or a Joe Montana. Let's just be clear. A lot of guys are not going to, even a Peyton Manning. Let's put him in that conversation too. Because Jacob Tammy, some of those guys he had, Jacob Tammy.
Exactly. Who?
So Jacob Tammy, the guy who stayed with the concussions all the time, don't remember his damn name. But
Austin Collie.
Austin Collie.
Yeah.
Donald Brown. Joseph, I'll die if you rush for another 1,000 yards. So being real, you had that one good season that Super Bowl.
I'd die if you get another 1,000 yards.
That's what you said, Joseph and I. We saw a native Joseph, I die if you get another 1,000 yard season. So,
I ain't never heard that before, bro. I ain't never heard that.
That's the one.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
Shout out to my father. We had a lot of nicknames for everybody, man.
Yeah,
so,
that's pretty. I ain't never heard that before. That's pretty good.
We used to call Austin Collie, Austin Concussion. You know, Austin Concussion. Then we had Jacob Tammy, because he was kind of fragile himself. Tam Tam. So it was a lot of little nicknames that we have for Donald Brown. Why was you drafted out of UConn? why was you drafted out? I never forget that damn block that he missed. I never forget there's a play, a very, very infamous play on YouTube, on YouTube, where Peyton Manning had snapped that ball and somebody was up on it right before he got ready to pass it.
I remember that. And you can hear him, you can hear him through the hot mic.
Hi, David Donald. So yeah, there was a lot. Not a lot of quarterbacks can go out here and just make something out of nothing. We got to stop acting like everybody's supposed to be Tom Brady, Joe Montana, and
exactly
and company. A lot of build around the quarterbacks and see what they can do. Because if they didn't have the damn help, you'll be complaining that they didn't have help. I mean, look, even when you look at Joe Montana, you ever heard of Wendell Tyler?
Well, I have.
Freddie Solomon? God rest his soul.
I have, but I'm 43 years old and I grew up in the 80s, so
yeah,
you know, that's the thing, you know. Russ Francis, there you go.
You remember Hacksaw Reynolds?
What?
Hacksaw Reynolds, the defensive time. That dude was whack. He was a whack job. Like, what the hell?
Oh my God.
But
yeah, I mean, early in his career, Montana had you know,
who?
Yeah.
Who?
I mean, who is yeah. I mean, he had some really terrible. I shouldn't say terrible.
They was built for the system. I will say that.
Yes.
Up until 1984, that's when Roger Craig came into his own. Roger Craig didn't come into his own until that Super Bowl. He wasn't even starting at a certain point. When they won Super Bowl in 1984 and they beat Dan Marino, Roger Craig had not yet came into his own.
No,
he didn't come into his own until after that 84 season.
I want to look up this roster real quick.
So, yeah. If you look at
Earl Cooper was the tight end.
Who the fuck is that?
I have no idea.
Hold on, let me see who Earl Cooper. That's my mailman, ain't it?
Boy, you stupid. That man said, "Was that my bail, man?" You so stupid.
Okay, now look. I know my football brain isn't what it used to be because I'm a parent now and I have other priorities. But dude, I recognize 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 names on that starting defense. 4. I recognize Keena Turner, Ronnie Lott, Eric Wright, and Dan Buns. Those are the only names on that defense that I recognize. The only reason is because the Super Bowl 24 is one of my favorite Super Bowls of all time. I'd watch that Super Bowl over 100 times. Easy.
Yeah.
But, and then you look at his offense, it's like Wendell Tyler. Roger Craig was the fullback.
Exactly.
That's how old I am, when fullback was a different thing. Dwight Clark, Freddie Solomon, Earl Cooper, Bubba Paris was the left tackle. Randy Cross was the right guard, and the other guys I've never even heard of.
That was before Steve Wallace and company had came. That was before the second wave of offensive line.
And was it Pierce Holt? No, Pierce Holt.
Yeah, Pierce Holt was a monster.
Yeah. Like you go to that team versus
the 1988 team,
the 88-89 team, like that 89.
That's when the household names start coming out. When you think about John Taylor and Roger Craig, Tom Rathman, and Jerry Rice.
That 89 team was, I mean, yeah, Roger Craig, Jerry Rice, John Taylor, Tom Rathman, Brent Jones. Harry Sidney was like the backup running back. Harry Sidney was no joke as a running back either. Wesley Walls was the third tight end behind Brent Jones and Jamie Williams.
And Wesley Walls was no joke neither. He was a pro.
No. He went on to have a great career with Carolina Panthers. Like, I mean, Bill Romanowski was a special teams player.
That's crazy. Crazy to think about.
Yeah. Like, I mean, that Charles Haley, Don Griffin, Chet Brooks, Kevin Fagan, Pierce Holt, Ronnie Lott, Matt Millen.
You want to know what's so funny about John Taylor and all of those guys?
Eric Wright. Yeah.
You want to know what's so funny about John Taylor and all of those guys? Charles Haley. All of those guys that he had that were household names on that offense outside of Joe Montana, none of them went in the first round.
No, except for Jerry Rice. Jerry was the only one in the first round, and that's why when every Packer fan, and I'm from Wisconsin, I live in Wisconsin. I had to deal with this crap every single year. Every year, when are they going to give Rodgers a number 1 wide receiver, bro? The Packers could pick any wide receiver in the second and third round, and those guys turned into Packer Hall of Famers. Jordy Nelson, Donald Driver was a 6th round draft pick. Like, you don't need to pick a first round wide receiver. Look at the Patriots. They couldn't even draft a wide receiver. Julian Edelman was one of their best wide receivers, and they drafted him in the 7th round as a quarterback.
Exactly. He was a quarterback.
So
shout out to Kent State, by the way.
Kent State, yeah. So like this notion that it has to be a number 1 wide receiver. That's why like I've never been for number 1 wide receiver. Just get open. Can you get open? That's it. Can you get open? I don't care if you drafted in the 1st round or the 7th round. Can you get open? So
hey, you better start talking to Dave DeGitt. Better start talking to that run and shoot offense down there in Houston. The run and shoot offense.
Yeah.
So, last question before we get the show that we go off the air. Is Jalen Hurts the most disrespected QB in modern history, and can a second Super Bowl validate him forever?
Most disrespected QB in history?
Modern history, I would say.
Modern history. He's up there when you think about it, because they attribute everything with just, the team he has around him. But I mean, at the end of the day, you still have to be able to pull the trigger at the quarterback position. You can have all the talent in the world at your skill positions and whatnot. If you don't have a quarterback that can get the job done, I mean, what good is it to build your team, build your offense, build your skill positions if you don't have a good quarterback? What good is it going to do? So I mean, you gotta have somebody pulling the trigger. I think as far as modern history, he's up. I don't think he's the most disrespected in modern history, but I think he's up there. Champ, you should know who I feel is the most disrespected quarterback in modern history.
Wait. What do you consider modern history?
The last 25 years.
What?
Last 25
the last 25?
Oh.
Champ should know who I think is the most disrespected quarterback of the last 25 years.
Matty.
You got doing right is Matt Ryan. It's not even close.
Oh. Yeah.
But Jalen Hurts is up. But Jalen Hurts, I think, is the most. I think right now is the most disrespected quarterback in the league right now. Modern history, last 25 years, he's in the conversation. I personally still think it's Matt Ryan, but Jalen Hurts is like he's like in the conversation. I think a second title would it validate him? I would hope so, because you're gonna have those that are still like, oh man, well look, they're still gonna be on this. He's got a super team and that. I'm like, bro, if Jalen Hurts brings a second championship to the city, if he wins another championship, I think it has to validate him to some level. It's got to, because of how hard it is to win one, let alone two. So a second championship has to validate him. I mean, it has to, because you've seen all these great quarterbacks have these wonderfully built teams.
Look at Lamar
and they don't thrive when they get to the playoffs. So it's the fact that he's actually thriving with the team that's built around him, taking him to a championship. I mean, in my opinion, are inarguably the favorites in the NFC to go back and repeat this year. So I mean, I'm just saying, like, there have been too many instances of quarterbacks, good quarterbacks, that didn't do enough with good teams for us to always want to continually knock Jalen Hurts for having a good team just because he actually came through and won the big one with the team that was built around him. We've seen too many instances of good quarterbacks winning, good quarterbacks not doing enough of good talent. We've seen that way too many times for us to continually knock Jalen Hurts.
I just want to say that one of the things that made Tom Brady great is that it didn't have to be about him, which is what Jalen Hurts is great at. It didn't have to be. So, like, if the game plan to win the ball game was to run the ball 75 times, that's what Tom Brady was going to do. And, he never, like, it. You play within yourself, within the current game and within the current situation. And I think that's what Jalen Hurts does really well. And that's how you win championships. You look at Lamar Jackson, who is just as much of a stacked team as Jalen Hurts, if not more, and he keeps failing year after. He can't even get there. And Jalen Hurts technically should already have two, except for some bogus-ass call in the Super Bowl. So,
which is currently under investigation, might I add.
Is it really?
Yeah, a lot of refs are under investigation in the NFL.
I saw 3 were fired, but I thought the article was really old.
Yeah, from a lot of stuff coming out about these damn referees. Like I said, but continue. Yeah, there's some investigations underway.
I hope so, because I still think look. I've never seen penalties called where I never thought I would see the day where people would say that the league was so rigged towards one team that they were missing the days of the New England Patriots. Like that's saying something. And we were saying that when this stuff was going on, that all of us were like,
what the fuck is going on?
Like this is getting a little sketchy here on but whatever.
Pass interference just penalty out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? Really?
There were multiple games I can think of off the top of my head. The AFC title game against Cincinnati, where Kansas City won, the Cleveland Brown playoff game, the Super Bowl against the Eagles. Like, let's leave it at that. But I agree. I think Jalen Hurts is one of the most disrespected QBs in history. At least one with a title.
Mm.
I can name off some without a title. I think Tony Romo gets way too much flack as a starting quarterback in the Cowboys. Don't get me wrong, like he failed on multiple things, but you look at that. If I talk about a botched call, and look, I was at the game personally, but if they rule that catch for Des Bryant is an actual catch, we're talking about Romo's career way differently.
Well, the thing is, I think the only reason why I will say Tony was disrespected is because he played for the Cowboys.
He played for the Cowboys, exactly.
And if it was anybody else that played for a team like that, they'd be talking about him a little bit different. But because he played for the Cowboys, and look, when you think about the rich history of the Cowboys when it comes to quarterback position, it's kind of hard for you to overcome that. You know, when you talk about Roger Staubach, and regardless of how much criticism that you may have, he made out of 1-1 in Dallas, but he still was valuable. Danny White. Then you had Troy. Then they didn't have anything for years. They finally get Tony Romo because remember, Drew Bledsoe was coming out there. He was getting Bill Parcells was getting so pissed off with Drew Bledsoe that he wanted to just kill him right in front of everybody. So yeah, he eventually pulled out that gun. He eventually pulled out that gun and turned it on himself. But I digress. So yeah, but I'm just being honest. The only reason why people criticize him the way they do is because he played for the Cowboys.
Yeah. But I'm just kind of mentioning guys that like I think Dan Fouts gets really disrespected over like how great Dan Fouts actually was. Like there are certain guys that I just go that I think everybody expects everybody to be Brady, Manning, Montana. And it's like that's not how it is. Like you can be great without being those guys.
Yes, you can. And the thing is, quarterbacks need a team around them. And some receivers are good for their teams. Let's just keep it above. Rod Smith may not go down as an all-time great, but he was good for the Denver Broncos. Ed McCaffrey. He's not going to ever go down as an all-time great, but he was good for the Broncos.
Jordy Nelson.
Donald
Driver. Greg Jennings.
Yes.
I don't think people realize how good Jordy Nelson really was. Jordy Nelson.
Yes.
Talk about one of those underrated wide receivers like of that generation. Holy Moses.
Yes, you got to think about everything, and people got to get their head out of their behinds and stop thinking that every year is supposed to be you're not supposed to have a stacked team, because these same quarterbacks, if they didn't have a team around them, we'd be complaining about that.
Yep.
He doesn't have a team around him. Hell, even when Lamar had, look, let's just keep it a buck. I love Lamar Jackson. I'm hoping that he wins one. But even when Lamar had that stacked defense, a historic defense, that defense is on par with the 80s, with the 80s Philadelphia Eagles. If you really look at that team, the 80s version of the Philadelphia Eagles and the Baltimore Ravens, they look very, very similar. But even then, everybody was saying, well, he doesn't have a receiver outside of Mark Andrews. They finally get him one. They finally get him two. In the very next year, you have this incredible season. Came up empty. Now, like I said, that's no knock against Lamar, but it's just evidence. There's too much evidence out there of a lot of players having the same thing, but not doing much with it. It's too much evidence out here.
Yeah.
It's way too much evidence. So that's why we need to show these guys some grace and show exactly what is going on. Because guess what? There's a lot of guys with stacked teams that are not necessarily doing anything with them. Let's just keep it all the way above. So when you put that into fruition, hell, at one point, Josh Allen had a pretty good team. James Cook, Stephon Diggs had a hell of a defense, had a good offense. He hasn't won.
Nope.
Put it into perspective.
It's hard. It's really hard to win Super Bowls.
Look, I think, look, our generation is spoiled. We got to see dynasty after dynasty after dynasty. And it seems like, let's just be real. It seems like when one dynasty died, another one took over.
Yeah.
That's just how it feels. When the 49ers dynasty died, the Cowboys dynasty took over. When the Cowboys dynasty died, you still had teams going back to back. When you talk about the Denver Broncos. And then it didn't take long until you got back to a dynasty in the form of the New England Patriots. That dynasty lasted almost 2 decades.
Yeah.
It had lasted almost 2 decades.
That's great. Ugh.
And then right after that, simultaneously, here come the Kansas City Chiefs. I think people are getting too caught up in that. That's just my humble opinion.
I got a question.
Yeah.
Depending on what they find out with these refs, how much can that taint what the Chiefs have done?
If they find some stuff, oh yeah.
If they find some shit.
What are they investigating? Because I know that they were
They're investigating. Hold on, let me look it up.
Because I all I saw was some headlines, and then I kind of looked into it deeper for like a half a second, and then I'm like, oh, this is an old article.
Investigation referees. Okay. So I think this article came out. Okay, so they're investigating James Carter, Robin DiLorenzo, and Robert. I don't know what the hell that name is. He sound like he a Narcos or something. But they may talking about they may be involved in cheating to favor the Chiefs. Yeah.
Who's the article by?
That's the article it was an older article. It was back in February, and that was Yahoo Sports.
Oh, so it's
Yahoo
legit.
Sports. And then let me see. There's another.
Does it give any detail exactly on what they are exactly like? Is it just Chiefs games specifically?
It's just Chiefs games specifically.
Wow.
It's just Chiefs games specifically. But they kind of hiding it a little bit, but you know how the NFL is. They're
not gonna acknowledge that.
Hell no. So there's those are 3. And then there's a lot of Twitter innuendos on there as well. But they're under investigation right about now, specifically those 3. But the thing is this. I'm going to tell you this. Should it taint it? No. Why?
Ooh.
Because at the end of the day, all 3 of us are athletes. What do they tell you as a football player? Number 1, before you go out on the field.
Don't be a bitch. I don't know.
No. What the hell? But first thing they tell you when you go out on the field, especially when you're playing on the road, is this. You cannot leave it in the officials' hands. I remember every coach that I've ever played for has told me that. Hey, we're going to go on the road. You're not going to get any favors from these damn referees. You're playing on the road. These guys are helping. This is in high school. This is before
I know, but what if, okay, but this isn't. But when a coach tells you that, that's in a vein of you're going to get bad calls. This is fixing games. This is different.
We've seen shit like this before. We saw it with your Milwaukee Bucks in that Eastern Conference Finals between.
That's the most rigged shit I've ever seen in my life.
We saw it, and I hate to say this, it hurts me with all my being. We shouldn't have three-peated. My Lakers shouldn't have three-peated.
I appreciate you.
Because Sacramento should have beat you in 2002.
Exactly. And then the Game 7, we get damn near every call and then come to find out, Tim Donahue, he's under investigation. He got put in jail for it. So we've seen history of that before. Hell, are you going to go back? Can you go back and take the Lakers? No, it was Kobe and Shaq.
You should.
You should, but you can't. They still won the other two.
Yeah. You can't take the other two.
You can't. They still won the other two, and they still had to win the finals when they got there. It's a valid point, but at the end of the day, it's like, what all can you hold against them at a certain point? What can you hold against them? That's not. They didn't pay the referees
unless they had knowledge. I guess I get your point. Unless they had a direct knowledge of it.
If they had direct knowledge, it's a whole nother ball game. But
even with that game 7, I mean, the Sacramento Kings had so many missed opportunities in that series. So I mean, I guess you kind of have to put it on them for letting it get to that point too. So
yeah. Look, I have a slight rant, if you guys would allow me to. It's a separate topic.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
Okay, so we don't often bring this up on the show. We don't often bring up the UFC too much on the show, but this talk about how all of a sudden John Jones isn't the greatest fighter of all time is just beyond me. Just because he, at almost 40 years old, doesn't want to take a fight with Tom Aspinall, and to say he's ducking him is just insane. And I just want to point out too that everybody is pointing out his PED fails. These are the same people that will argue that Barry Bonds is still the greatest MLB player of all time, regardless of PEDs.
To be honest with you, I'm gonna just be real. Those tests that he failed, he tested positive for cocaine.
Well, he was on PEDs as well.
He did have a PED fail test too.
He failed a PED.
Yeah,
I'm like, if you could beat somebody's ass while you stoned, power to you.
But even
I'm sorry.
Okay, but even Cormier was like, I couldn't beat him. Cormier just said, if those two fought, Tom Aspinall and John Jones, currently right now,
John Jones is dog walking him.
Yeah, like this notion all of a sudden that he is not the GOAT because it's just because everybody wants to be like, he's ducking. Dude, he is mauled everybody. Yes, he's had some controversial finishes and some controversial fights. Don't get me wrong. Like Anderson, like the first fight against Gustafsson, but then they came around back, and then Jones beat the hell out of him again. Beat the hell out of him the second time. Like, I just want to point like this notion again. We just want to like dogpile on somebody. Now, don't get me wrong. John Jones is not a good person. He's not. John Jones is not a good person. Let's just get that out of the way, okay? But I don't care. We're not talking about on whether or not he's going to heaven and having a drink with Jesus. We're talking about, can he kick somebody's ass? And honestly, besides maybe GSP, he is the greatest of all time.
And I think John Jones, and honestly, I think if you put John Jones and GSP in the octagon, I think John Jones is dog walking him too.
Well, that's because I think Jones is way bigger than him. But
I know.
But I'm just saying, like, you just go. I mean, you could say Mighty Mouse is up in that conversation too.
Pound for pound, yeah. He's definitely in the conversation.
Fighter, but John Jones, like this, everybody needs to stop. Like this crap is garbage. Like everybody just wants to like just dogpile and just like call. Dude, John Jones is anything but afraid to fight somebody. I don't want to hear the John Jones is afraid to fight somebody.
I think to piggyback off of yours, what you were saying, I hate to say it like this, I don't think John Jones looks at the Tom Aspinall fight as just the end all be all. If this is gonna be my last fight, I'm going out in a blaze of glory. I'm getting this big purse. I'm getting this big check. We getting all these ratings. Let me tell you something. This is if John, I'm telling you this right. If you put John Jones on the spot and you said, okay, I'm gonna give you one more fight. I'm talking about you finna go out, blaze of glory. I'm talking about money, ratings. I'm talking about we gonna pull it in. You know which name he's gonna say. If you follow the fight game, you know which one fight John Jones would probably take right now if it means like his retirement fight. But bro, Francis and Ngannou is the money fight.
Oh, dude, he was calling. Dude, this is the stupid thing. He was looking for big money fights. He was calling out Brock Lesnar. Like Tom asked Pertall, asked Hat, asked whatever I don't care who he is. He is a nobody compared to John Jones. John Jones was looking for a big money fight. Nobody cared about John Aspertat or whatever his name is. I don't care. Like, John Jones beat Daniel Cormier twice. And Daniel Cormier is considered one of the greatest heavyweights of or light heavyweights of all time.
He's a two-class champion.
Like you have fight pundits like Ariel going on and talking about how John Jones is like basically a chicken shit. Dude, shut up. Just shut your mouth. Like the fact that you have a platform baffles me. Like you're turning into the Skip Bayless of the fight world. Like just stop. Stop speaking. Stop talking. Like talking about PEDs, because I can guarantee if I dig up enough stuff, you'd be arguing that Barry Bonds deserves to be a Hall of Famer as the greatest baseball player of all time, regardless. So everybody needs to go home, take a little nap, get a little warm milk in you, maybe get out of this heat and stop talking stupid. John Jones is the greatest fighter of all time. It's not even a question.
To be honest with you, I have to be honest with you real quick. I would just be real. I believe John Jones is trying to drag this out so he can get some more money out of this. This is my last big money fight.
Well, he just re-entered
He just re-entered the test. I think the test pool or whatever.
Yeah, because they're having a massive fight at the White House. They're doing UFC.
And he wants to be a part of it.
So did Conor McGregor. He put his name in there too. So, like, yeah, that's a big money event. You got UFC at the White House, which everybody can like complain about it, but I think that's kind of cool, actually. I think it
is. I mean, regardless of how you feel about the person in the White House, at the end of the day, it's still the White House.
It's still cool.
It's still cool. Hell, let's just keep it all the way above. They asked us to come. Hey, we want you to commentate the fight. Why? Hell yeah, shit.
Long as I ain't got to shake his hand, I'll do whatever you need me to do.
I'll shake his hand. Fuck it. I mean,
he's the president.
White House. It's the fucking White House.
It's the White House.
It's the fucking White House.
I still adhere to certain things. I feel I ain't shaking his hand. I'm honoring the White House. I ain't shaking his hand.
I respect that as well. I'm just saying.
I'm still gonna honor what is the White House.
Yeah, dude, and the fact that we get to see something we've never seen before, like a UFC. I want to point out too, like way back in the day, like Abraham Lincoln was a massive he had a huge wrestling background. So like this is a throwback kind of in a way too. So everybody kind of knocking this whole like UFC at the White House thing. Dude, this is awesome. This is so cool. Like I never thought. Let's go. I want to see a massive UFC extravaganza, which is good. It gives me an excuse to have a party at the house.
And to piggyback real quick before we kind of call it a night. I've said it once. I'll say it again. Tom Aspinall, it is now on you, my good sir, because you are the undisputed UFC heavyweight champion. You better win your first title defense. You better win your first title defense, because if you don't, You think you are going to get so flamed if you lose your first title defense because you got these people saying that Jones is ducking you. You lose your first title defense, man. Jones finna be sitting in the back laughing, having a hearty laugh. He like, see, y'all did all this talking about me. Dude ain't even worth the fight. He can't even beat somebody that's not even me. Like, why should I fight him? He would have absolutely no reason to fight him at that point if he lost his first title defense. He'd have no reason to fight him.
No.
You're going like if you're going losing the Cyril game, what makes you think you're gonna beat John Jones?
I'm gonna just be real. I think that John Jones is trying to drive up the money for the fight. You know, hey, everybody wants to see me go out on the blazing board. I really don't have a lot of opponents at this point. Everybody's anxious to see me, you know, whatever. You know, there was a long-standing rumor going around, right? That there was a long-standing rumor going around in the boxing community, right? That that the real reason that Rocky Marciano had retired is because he was ducking Sonny Liston.
Ooh,
but
wait,
I never heard that. I never heard that.
Yeah, there was a rumor going around that he was ducking Sonny Liston, but I'm like,
who was ducking? Who was
Rocky Marciano?
Oh, Rocky Marciano, yeah.
I'm like, well, Sonny Liston really didn't have a lot of skin in the game during that time. He was just really an up-and-coming fighter, but everybody was talking about, well, he was ducking Sonny Liston. He won 49-0. So,
yeah,
what is
I think Sonny. I do think Sonny Liston could have got him though, but to say he was, but that type of record, but that type of record and that type of pedigree.
Wait. What? Wait, are we talking about like at the end of the year or at the end of his career, Rocky Marciano, or prime Rocky Marciano?
I don't think anybody prime Rocky Marciano. I'm gonna be real because I was a boxer. I did a lot of boxing research. At his peak, they said the amount of force that Rocky Marciano hit with was equivalent to a 50 caliber army round.
Yeah. Jesus Christ!
Yeah, that did. Yeah,
they said the equivalent. They measured his punch, and this was back then. They said the power that he hit with was equivalent to a 50 caliber round that you put in one of them 50. He said that's how hard he used to hit.
That's one of them big sniper rifles, ain't it?
No, yeah. That's them one of the 50 cal rounds that you put right in there, you push it up and they firing it. Yeah, that's one of them.
Oh, those, Jesus.
Yeah, it was equivalent to a 50 caliber round. That's how bad his punch power was. So he retired early. He retired when he was 30. He still has some years left.
That's crazy.
I don't think Sonny Liston even comes close to touching Rocky.
No, I'm a Sonny fan, but yeah. Now the baddest motherfucker who ever put a pair of boxing gloves on was Joe Louis, because he was so good that they used to call all-time fighters that he used to face bums of the month. He held the title for 10 years. They used to call guys that he used to face all-time great fighters. Go back and look it up. They used to call him bum of the month. The term, the Great White Hope, that was because of the guy who he faced in the ring. They thought he was going to beat him because they used to call him the Brown Bomber. He was beating the hell out of people. So that's just how, boxing is a whole nother ball game. And the thing is, what kills me about it is this. It's the same argument with basketball. Those guys were not even equipped back then in order to keep up with themselves. They were not even equipped back then.
No.
They was doing just basic. They didn't know anything about strength. It was go in the ring, it was pure sparring and running, road work. It was just pure that. They didn't have the strength and conditioning, the heel runs and stuff like that. They didn't have all that back then. So when people call these guys plumbers, I laugh at them. This is funny. But on that note, man, we got to get up out of here, man.
Wait. I got one question real quick. In a straight up boxing match, Jack Johnson or Joe Louis?
Joe Louis.
Joe Louis.
Okay.
Joe Louis.
Okay.
Joe Louis.
I was just curious.
Joe Louis. Hey man, Joe Louis was that deal. I'm
not saying he wasn't. I was just curious on your opinion.
No. I get what you're saying. But Joe Louis was that deal, man. And I hate that towards the end of his life, everything happened the way it did. You know, Joe Louis was one of the highest paid fighters in history. He was getting paid $400,000 purses back in 1930. Yeah. I'm going to say that again. He was getting paid $400,000 purses back in 1930. Do you know how much damn money that is equivalent to today?
$400,000 then, it probably about. Good Lord.
That's about $30 million right now.
About $30 million now. Ooh.
Yeah, come on. Hold on. I'm going to go and see what the largest purse he ever had. Largest purse. Joe Louis.
Boy, Penta and Seth Rollins are showing out, by the way.
His largest purse was $1 million in 1935.
Good God.
And his top 5 purses was that he earned $650,000, $300,000, $250,000. He was raking it in. He earned over $5 million in his career back in the 30s. Let me see what $5 million is equivalent to today.
How old was Joe Louis when he got knocked out by Rocky Marciano?
Oh, he was up there, bro.
Was he?
He was up there. He was. You haven't watched Coming to America, have you?
Dude, it's been. Dude, I was like probably like the last time I watched that.
Yeah, $5 million back then was equivalent to $500 million today.
Wait,
wow.
Who got paid that?
Huh?
Who got paid that?
Joe Louis got paid $5 million back in 1939. That equivalent today is worth $500 million.
No way. Really?
No, yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
How did he end up broke?
He was very, very generous with his money. What he used to do, he had this big ass bag that he used to leave the house with. And he would go out there and buy people cars, he would buy people's groceries, buy people houses, and he had this big old thing of money. Yeah, he was just reckless with his money, not to mention taxes. You know, he
didn't pay his taxes.
Huh?
He didn't pay his taxes, did he?
Yeah, he didn't pay his taxes.
So Joe Louis' largest purse was $625,000. $625,916.44 earned for his fight against Billy Conn in 1946. This was his second $1 million gate fight. The fight took place at Yankee Stadium and ended. And took a fight. Let's see, and ended with Louis winning by knockout in the 8th round. So let's see. What is $625,000 in 19?
My bad. It will be $100 million. My fault.
Shit, that's still a lot of money, though.
Yeah, that's $112 million. Yeah, they say Joe Louis, he was very, very generous with his money. What he would do was he had a little bag, you know, like a little doctor's bag. You know, a lot of people used to carry around briefcases back then, and he'll fill that son of a gun up with money. And he will go out, he'll go to the store, he'll hand people money, give people $100 bills, you know. And by the time he got back, I'll never forget his wife said, you know, one of his wife said he had a bag and he had over like $5,000 in that bag full of $1 bills. And he said he went to the store, he left the house for like 24 hours. She said by the time she got back home, that damn bag was empty.
So his largest purse for adjusted for inflation was almost $11 million, and that was the fight against Jack Kahn.
Yeah.
So I mean, now that's well. I mean, let's see. I want to know what. Let's see. What is the largest boxing purse?
I think it was Floyd, 300 million. Floyd got paid like 200 million
ever. The 16 biggest payouts in boxing history ranked by earnings.
Largest purse in boxing history.
Do we count Floyd Mayweather versus Conor McGregor?
Yeah, you got to.
Yeah, okay.
You have to.
I mean, it's a boxing match. You have to.
Now, I don't count that. I'll count Mayweather Pacquiao. I'll do that one because that's 2. Mayweather Pacquiao was $250 million. Mayweather had a larger split than Manny Pacquiao. As a result, he earned over $100 million for one fight. Jeez Louise.
Oscar doesn't remember. I remember, man, Floyd Mayweather, I wish he would have played his cards a little bit righter. You know, I wish he made over $1 billion in earnings, but I wish he would have been that crossover guy. I wish he would have been that crossover guy. You get what I'm trying to say? I wish he would have crossed over like early in Mike Tyson's career. I wish he would have been that guy because he could have earned like billions.
I don't think he doesn't earn billion. I think he had to be the villain.
Yeah.
Because his style of fighting was never going to endear him to anybody.
No, because he was a defensive fighter.
Yeah, like the only people that would appreciate his style of boxing were actual boxers or people that loved boxing.
The pure.
Yeah.
Yeah, the purists. But you got to think about this too.
He is the equivalent to the New England Patriots, the New York Yankees, the Kansas City Chiefs. You literally everybody tunes in, even the casual people that have never watched to watch that MFer get knocked out. That's the only reason you bought that fight.
Yeah. And look, I think we were kind of spoiled. Let's just be real. From Floyd's generation, from the previous generation, we were used to seeing knockouts. We saw Tyson. We saw a lot of guys who had knockout power. David Tua, Roy Jones Jr.
But that's I think that I don't even think it's spoiled. I just think we saw the transition. The heavyweight division started to dwindle after that era of you had Holyfield and Tyson and Lennox Lewis and that era of boxing. The heavyweight division just started to kind of peter out and dwindle, and the big money fights ended up being like Mayweather, Pacquiao, and the smaller weight classes. What?
We saw that before, though, in history.
Yeah.
We saw that before in the 70s. But those guys had knockout power. When you look at Sugar Ray Leonard, he had knockout power. When you look at Tommy Hearns, he had knockout power.
Yeah.
Y'all, you love it when I say this. Remember Manos de Piedra?
Oh,
Roberto Duran?
Yes.
He had knockout
all those guys could like send your jaw into the 5th row.
I mean, Marvin Hagler, he had knockout power.
So do you? I know this is kind of off topic a little bit, but as a former actual boxer, do you hate the state of boxing right now? That basically the most popular thing about boxing right now is Jake Paul.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, good. Because I love boxing. Like boxing is one of my first loves, and I hate. It's why I don't even give. I love the McGregor Floyd thing. I thought it was a great spectacle, but I think it's ruined boxing now because
Jake Paul is now a title contender too.
I know.
I wish I was still at my peak because I'd have beat the shit out of Jake Paul.
I
I'd have
paid hundreds of dollars to see that. Because
I'd have beat the hell out. Go back and look at my old pictures on my Instagram page. I'd have beat the shit out of Jake Paul.
I don't do it, and I don't even think he's that bad of a fighter. Like I think he's
really not.
He's not a bad fighter. I don't.
He remind me of that dude off the Great White Hype, Terry McConkey. They just put his ass up there because they need a spectacle and ain't nobody watching boxing right now.
Well, but that's the sad part is like, but I honestly think, again, I had a massive party for the Mayweather-McGregor fight. I think that was the beginning of the end of like, that's what mainstream boxing is now. And that's sad.
The beginning of the end with boxing is when Don King is when the boxers became the promoters. That was the beginning of the end.
When the boxers became the promoters?
Yeah. Because the thing is, when you look at Don King, when he was a promoter, when you look, if boxing and promoting was separate, when it was separate, we got to see all the big fights. It wasn't no ducking no damn body. You was going to fight. Hey, everybody, look, I'm going to just be real. You can say all you want to about Don King. When everybody said they want to see Tyson versus Holyfield, guess what fight happened? Tyson versus Holyfield. When everybody said they want to see Tyson versus Lennox Lewis, Tyson versus Lennox Lewis happened. What happens these days is fighters be ducking people. Go out there and beat their ass. Don't duck nobody because this ain't the person that you want. Just because this person asking for more money. And look, if I would have went pro, I wouldn't have given. But look, you want 70-30? I'll let you take it because after I beat your ass, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna get an even bigger slice of the pie anyway, because that's when all those endorsements gonna come in. That's when all those sponsors gonna come in. That's the whole thing about it. Guys don't want to lose their O. If you don't know what your O is, that is when you're undefeated. A lot of these guys are scared to take an ass whooping. They don't want to lose that O. That O makes you a hell of a lot different than everybody else. Granted, when you got that O on your side, then it makes
you. Again, we live in the social media era, so there's a lot of there's too much. Losing a fight now is the end of the world. When back in the day it was, I mean, you could lose a fight and it wouldn't
be afraid to take an ass whooping. It's a fight.
Yeah,
you can't be scared to take that ass whooping.
No,
you got to be tough enough to understand the fights. I think the worst thing that ever happened to boxing is guys were scared to take ass whooping. I mean, the thing is, now I give Terrence Crawford, I give him a lot of credit because he ain't scared to fight no damn body. You want to fight, let's get it on.
Well, that's the one thing that, like, as much as I want to, like, a lot of people will say that Floyd's, pound for pound the greatest. And you can argue whether or not he was doing it for legit reasons, but the fact that he didn't fight Pacquiao until Pacquiao was until he was way past his prime. Like,
to be honest with you, I think he should have gave him a rematch because the shoulder injury came out and everything like that.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I blame more of that on Bob Arum than I do on Floyd. Because Bob Arum knew damn well Floyd did not like it. Because Bob Arum used to be Floyd's promoter.
Yeah, I know.
So if in order for you to get this fight to happen, you got to step the fuck out the way, then get the fuck out the way. That didn't happen.
I also think that, like, all the PED stuff with Pacquiao or those rumors, I think, I don't know. I don't know if that was an excuse or what, but
I'll take it. He was willing to submit to he ended up at the end of the day submitting to drug testing.
Yeah.
I mean, he ended up doing that. I mean, in Floyd, it wasn't just Pacquiao. Floyd did the same thing with Shane Mosley because he had tested positive for PEDs at one point in his career.
Yeah, that's right. That's true.
Shane Mosley did this. I don't blame Floyd for, like, you're not going to pull one over me because you out here on these damn roids.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, however you agree with whether he was ducking them or not, for whether you believe it was right or not.
Now, I do agree. Now, I do agree with one person that he ducked, and rightfully so. He ducked Antonio Margarito, but I don't blame him for that.
Why don't you blame him for that?
Y'all don't know about Antonio Margarito. That's the guy who got
Antonio Margarito cheated one of his fights.
Yes, he loaded his gloves. He had
loaded his gloves. He loaded his gloves. It was the one at the Cotto fight.
Yeah, he had plaster of Paris in his gloves.
Yeah, he loaded it in the first Cotto fight. And then they fought again and Cotto beat the daylights out of him.
Yeah, he had plaster of Paris in his glove. I think they found out about it during the Shane Mosley fight.
I think so too.
Wow, I wouldn't have fought him either.
Yeah. They found out about it after the Mosley fight.
Yeah, they found out about it during the Mosley fight. I think Hassim, his trainer, had went back and checked his gloves, and he was real adamant about, I want to see your damn gloves. About because when they put your wraps on, it's just supposed to be usually the opposing locker room comes in and they tape your damn gloves just to make sure you ain't got in there. But when he went in there to tape him up and check his gloves or whatever, something hard was in it. And then when he flipped it over, something hard came out of the blockhead came out. And this was like right before the fight. This was like an hour before the fight. And I never forget, Shane Mosley's trainer said, I thought I had blew the fight because when they found out what he had in those gloves, he thought they was about to take Margarito to jail. Because if you work construction, you know how hard plaster of Paris can be. So when you got plaster of Paris in your gloves,
you're gonna hurt.
It's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt like hell.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, that was one fight I didn't blame him because you heard rumors about Margarito being kind of cheap.
Oh, if you're loading gloves, dude. See, that's the thing. Like I would rather somebody do PEDs than load gloves and shit like that because that's
he loaded his gloves.
PEDs don't make you a better fighter. They just help you train harder, or you have the ability to train more. That's essentially what your body recovers better. That's what steroids are for. You ever had
you kill somebody faster with plaster of Paris in your glove.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's fucked up. That's something that I don't blame him then. And I honestly, like, everybody used to complain about oh man, I just want to see Floyd get knocked out. It's bogus. And I'm like, well then someone's got to hit him.
I mean, Shane Mosley caught him one time.
Oh, there are a couple guys that caught him.
They caught him one time, but they just couldn't finish the job.
They couldn't finish the job.
Marcos Maidana doing that first fight. That's how come he gave him the rematch. A lot of people argued that he won.
Yeah.
Marcos Maidana. Everybody argued that he won. I think what really made Floyd Mayweather the villain, which was not his fault, what made him the villain is that Tito Ortiz fight. Was that not the Tito Ortiz, Victor Ortiz fight? When you remember when he pushed the guy off, they say he got a cheap one in.
Oh yeah.
But you fucking headbutted me though.
But but to Floyd, I don't think it was. I think Floyd just was a smart marketer and he embraced it. He was just like, all right, well, because I don't think he, to your point when they started this whole conversation, I don't think he ever endears himself to the mainstream because of the way he fought. And I think he even said it in an interview. He goes like, I wasn't making any money being what was Pretty Boy Floyd. He wasn't making any money. And he said, he's like, and so he became the villain. And that one of the most brilliant marketing ploys ever. It's like Pam Anderson acting like the dumb blonde. Like, it worked.
Yeah, and he beat the Golden Boy. He beat Oscar De La Hoya.
Yep. So, I hope at some point boxing makes a comeback because honestly, like old school me, I would rather have a massive heavyweight title fight, boxing heavyweight title fight on the White House lawn than I would a UFC fight. Can you imagine like a big time, massive heavyweight title fight on the White House lawn? Like that would be, if we actually had, there
would be some
boxers worth a damn in the heavyweight division that were like big stars. Oh, that'd be awesome. Like, can you imagine like back in the day having Tyson Lewis on the White House lawn or Tyson Holyfield? Oh, that'd have been great.
Man, I would have loved to have seen one fight. Would have loved to have seen on the White House lawn. I mean, past versus present. If I could put myself in the time machine to see any fight, let me see. Bernard Hopkins versus Marvin Hagler.
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one. I would have loved to see that. Trying to think. One fight. Put me in a time machine. Put the time machine in their primes.
So a fight that actually happened.
So something that actually happened.
What are you saying?
Any fight that you could think of, past versus present.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So just dream scenario.
Yeah.
Woo. Lennox Lewis and Joe Frazier.
Damn.
I love to see that. I love to see that.
What was so funny about the thing was, I feel like if Lennox Lewis would have played the villain, he would have made more money.
Lennox Lewis is my favorite boxer of all time.
He's one of mine.
He was boring as hell.
He was boring as hell, but I love the way he boxed.
But he'll jab the shit out you.
That jab was phenomenal.
Because he knew you couldn't avoid it. He knew you couldn't duck it. Because he had too much reach. You couldn't miss it.
The only guy that I ever seen just outbox Klitschko. He outboxed Klitschko, and Klitschko was taller than he was.
Lennox Lewis was just another level, man. Folks just don't realize. They need to go back and watch some of his fight. Lennox Lewis was just another level.
I'm going to say a fight that actually happened, but I wish he would have been a little younger. But I think Holyfield versus Foreman on the White House lawn.
George Foreman back in the 70s.
Yeah, like peak George Foreman though. Like you go like prime George Foreman. I don't think you get better than. I mean, you could do the easy one. You could do like Ali versus Tyson. But honestly, like anybody that's ever asked me, I think Ali smokes Tyson.
It depends on what age if you catch Tyson during Costamato, no. After Costamato, yeah.
I don't know. I think Prime Ali still beats Mike Tyson with Costamato. Oh, yeah. I think he still does.
I say that because Tyson was just as fast.
I know.
He moved.
But the Achilles heel with Tyson always has been and always will be. How far can you get him in the match?
And I don't think he would have been able to get inside effectively against Prime Ali.
Yeah, that's a good point because Ernie Shavers and a lot of other guys wasn't able to, and they was taller than Tyson.
Yeah. When I think about the prospects of an Ali Tyson fight, I always go back to Foreman. Exactly. Because I feel like Foreman, that era was the closest as far as like an equivalent to the way Mike Tyson fought. The closest. And I look at Foreman and I see Ali, you basically rope-a-doping him. He pretty much do the same thing to Tyson.
I actually look at if Ali controls himself, I think it goes very similar to what the Lewis Tyson fight was.
I agree. He's gonna outbox him.
Yeah. He's just the reach was too much. And I just think, but if I was gonna see, like, I would have loved to see Ali versus Holyfield. I think that's the fight. I think if you have that generation heavyweight versus Ali in his prime, I think the one fight you want to see is him and Holyfield. Holyfield in his prime. That's the fight. So I mean, like if you really want to involve Ali, what?
He was very underrated.
Holyfield?
He was very underrated.
Yeah, I don't think he gets the sad thing is he gets more recognized for getting his ear bit off than anything else.
Exactly. Yeah, he gets more recognized. Yeah, exactly. He gets more recognized for that than the fact that, you know, he was going to beat Mike Tyson twice straight up before that happened.
And I'm not talking about just like beat him, like he was beating the dog shit out of
He
Tyson.
was dog walking him.
Yeah. Mike Tyson did not come out aggressive at all during that first fight. It was like, bro, why the hell are you not being aggressive? It's like, what's going on?
Yeah, like I'm trying to think of like who did Holyfield lose to in his career?
He lost to Lennox Lewis.
He lost to Lewis.
He lost to Lewis, Riddick Bowe,
Riddick Bowe.
and
How
James.
the hell did that happen?
Well, the real don't sell Riddick Bowe short like that, but Riddick Bowe concentrated for that fight. I'm just gonna be real. He really, really concentrated for that first fight.
Yeah, it happens. I mean, Lennox Lewis got knocked out by Asim Rahman, so I mean, like it happened.
Yeah, he really concentrated. And the thing was, during that fight, everybody was talking about how, Hasim Rahman, Lennox Lewis wasn't taking that serious. He was out here doing movies and everything, and everybody was talking about Shades of Tokyo.
And then he took him serious the second fight, and he left a knot the size of the map size of Connecticut on his forehead.
Yeah. At one point during that fight, he was beating him so bad, his corner told him, "Don't even try to counterpunch."
Who, Holyfield and Riddick Bowe?
No, Holyfield. No, Lennox Lewis versus Asim Rahman.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
The second fight.
Yeah, they said don't even try to counterpunch.
No, he just, dude, it was so funny watching because Lewis actually got in shape for that fight. I watched that fight live. I remember when he finally hit, like he finally hit Rahman with just a boom, boom, and Lewis just jogs back to his just go like this right back to all right, like I should have done this the first time.
Yeah, but Riddick Bowe, he lost to Riddick Bowe twice, and the thing is, he wasn't supposed to. The reason why Evander Holyfield lost the second time is because he had hepatitis A, and if you know anything about hepatitis A, that drains the hell out of your energy. So he still took the fight because I never forget. He said he ate a lot of seafood as part of his diet, in order to cut weight, and that ended up just messing his liver up.
Looking up his record right now just to kind of see. I don't want to log in. I don't need to log in yet.
Sugar Ray Leonard versus Oscar De La Hoya.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Battle of the Golden Boys.
That's a good one. I got one. Roberto Duran versus Ricky Hatton.
Yes. Andre Ward. Okay, Andre Ward versus let me see. Versus Roy Jones.
I'd like to see Roy Jones versus Thomas Hitman Hearn.
Why does Roy Jones get forgotten?
I don't know. I don't know.
Because of Floyd. And towards the end, he never had that 1 kg opponent.
I think Prime Roy dog walks
Prime
Floyd.
He made everybody look bad.
I think Prime Roy dog walks Prime Floyd.
Because of Floyd, it was because of Floyd, and because, like I said, through the last leg of his career, he really wasn't focused. And that's the reason why.
Well, he went up to heavyweight.
Dude won the heavyweight championship.
Yeah, he went, and then he had to come all the way back down in order
to come all the way back down.
Yeah. And then, bro, I'm going to just be real. As a fighter, cutting weight is a bitch.
Oh, yeah.
Especially when you got to come down from the biggest weight cut I ever did. I had to come down from 245 to 205.
Oh, my God. And how quick a time frame?
I had to do that shit in 10 weeks.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. I tell you right now, that's why you look at you look at Conor McGregor's UFC career once he trained for that Floyd fight, and then he was never the same fighter.
You're never the same.
Yeah,
and everybody talks about the money, and I'm sure that was part of it. But the other part of it too is like when you gain that kind of weight to do what he did, and then try to go back to a completely and on top of it, train a completely different way, and then try to go back to the UFC. That's what. And
when you cut that weight and you try to cut it fast, because I was just telling myself, I took a lot of damn X-Lax doing that.
I'm sure you did. Dude,
that's a lot of X-Lax doing that time, because you try to get that shit off.
Oh yeah. I'm telling right now, everybody laughs at me, but if Khabib fought prime Conor, pre-Floyd Conor, that's a way different fight.
I agree. It is a way different fight.
Way different fight.
And the thing is, when you cut that weight, you can't take diuretics. They'll test your ass for that.
Yep.
Yeah. So piggyback real quick off Flash on that point. I like that because Khabib, although he was an amazing grappler and all that stuff, prime Conor striking, completely different level. Completely different level.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Khabib is a great fighter and was a great fighter. He was. Like, and not a lot of dudes have been able to, like, I know like of 2 fights where you basically have like walked somebody back to the cage, got him on the ground, and then like Khabib's just telling him to quit. Like the only other time I saw that happen was like when Lesnar did that to Frank Mir.
Yeah.
Like, boy, like just stop. You need to quit.
Just stop. Just stop.
Just tap out. You know you want to, and just pummeling them. Like, oh man. Anyway,
yeah.
I still think pre-Floyd, it's a way different fight, and I think Khabib knows it. I think if you put true serum in him and asked him, that's a completely different fight, 100%. And people can laugh at me all they want, but pre-Floyd Conor was a different animal. Like you don't knock out Jose Aldo.
Look at the Jose Aldo fight. Jose Aldo hadn't lost in what, 10 years?
Yeah, and he lost in 13 seconds.
And he dropped him in 13 seconds with a knockout.
I'm sorry, but like I don't think Aldo had no idea how fast Conor was. Like Conor was that fast, and so I just. Like I said, people can laugh at me all they want, but I still make. I'm not saying that Conor would have beat him, but I'm saying
he would have given him a better fight.
But it's a way different fight.
Once you cut,
I agree with that.
Yeah.
The thing is, you got to get once you cut that kind of weight, you got to get used to your footing on that type of weight as well. Because when you flat, at 240, I'm flat feeted. At 205, I'm bouncing.
You're bouncing.
Yeah.
Well,
so
you look at John Jones, the way he fought at 205 versus what, 240 for heavyweight or whatever he was.
Yeah.
When he moved up, like just recently, and like how slow he was compared to what he was at 205. Like, and then too, when you go that high to take punches from heavyweights, and then like the difference in power is.
And then you lose in power too when you go back down.
Yep.
Oh, you losing power. So shit. I mean, I know all about cutting that damn weight. Cutting weight was by Achilles' heel. That's like I'm always boxed as a heavyweight. You go down to light heavyweight, no, I'm good. Because your ass had to be 205.
Yeah.
205. And if you was a pound over, you was assed out.
Yep.
So anything else I want to add before we get up?
Nah, man. Nah, this was an unbelievable show.
It was.
Yeah, it was. But on that note, guys, look, I just want to say, man, it's been a privilege, a pleasure, and an honor being here. And in the great words of BRF, I'll steal his thunder for this moment. Oh, there you go.
I got you. I got you. Because a topic I thought about is a topic I talked about.
Yes. Yes, indeed. And on that note, we are out. Tune in next week, and we are out.